The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily representative of the Coalition or any other entity. This content is intended for mature audiences only.
Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 167. I'm your host, Tony Polanco. I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Sup, guys? Playing some Monster Hunter.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, what up?
Brian Manjoma.
Sounds like you guys had fun on Friday with your Metal Gear Survive.
Oh, God. Brett Murdoch.
Hey, everybody.
And Adam Vale.
Did you guys know Call of Duty World War II is out?
You still playing that game, man? You still playing that shit?
I can't stop, man. I'm about Prestige the second time.
Damn, it's like that?
Yeah,
Can't
man,
stop.
I love it.
Don't stop.
Come on, Adam. Don't you want to play Monster Hunter?
Nah,
Hell no.
You know why, Brett? We discussed this last night.
It has what you like, crafting. I do not like crafting games.
No, it has dinosaurs, which is what you don't like.
I don't like that, too. Dinosaurs and crafting, those are two hand-in-hand things I do not want.
Me no like. Yeah, speaking about that, I hope you guys enjoyed our Monster Hunter streams. We couldn't beat that motherfucker, but Manny's did, which is pretty awesome.
Yep, I did.
So what was the trick? I'm fluffing it up a little bit. Go ahead.
Oh,
what was the trick?
so this is the trick. This is from, was it Earthbender Charlie?
Yeah, man.
He sent it to us on Twitter, which was essentially every single person has to use the larger bowcaster gun, right? Then what you do is you come into the second entrance, which is like, you have different camps in there. So it's the second camp that's the closest to where the water is, where you fight that monster. And then what you do is there's a section that's next to a frog, and one of those frogs, you hit it, and it paralyzes the monster for a little bit. So what you do is every single person puts down one of these explosive canisters. You get about 2 each per person. Then what you do is you throw down a bunch of attracting stuff that attracts the creature to you. Then once it comes to them, you shoot the frog, and then you start shooting the cluster bombs. Ammo onto them. You have about, 6 rounds. So it's four people shooting the 6 rounds into it, combined with that big ass explosion, and then they beat it in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Because the trick is, it's really not the fact that the monster has any more energy than any other monster in the game. It's the fact that it heals quicker than most. So what you have to do is keep the pressure on and keep taking energy away from it before it heals up again.
Yeah, but we don't want to downplay him. He's also extremely tough.
Oh yeah,
he's
crazy tough. I mean, he flies up in the air and smashes himself on the ground. Throws the spikes. It's a pretty nutty battle.
So yeah,
was that. And we also played some Metal Gear Survive for you guys.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that nonsense, man?
I don't think it's a bad game, but it involves a lot of stuff that I do not enjoy. You remember how just not long ago that Adam said stuff about crafting? I feel like for Metal Gear Survive, it's a lot more. It's more than I'm willing to deal with, and I feel like in the game, there's just so many things that you need to babysit.
I mean, mandatory crafting, or is it just like, if you want better weapons?
If you want anything of worth in the game, yes. So you gotta get your metal. You gotta get your this in the field. You gotta get that. You gotta get this, and then that's when you can start, building stuff like new weapons and all kinds of other things.
And it wasn't really fun playing the game when gunpowder was so scarce.
Yeah, gunpowder is scarce. So what do you use? I mean, where you just keep stabbing everybody incredibly slowly. It's like a timing thing when you're stabbing those creatures. But then when we got into one level where it was like a mine, and then it was in that one, it was just all it was like the monsters were all incredibly strong, and you stab them like a few times in the head and they're still not going down. I'm not very happy with that.
Some of these zombies would take like 10 bullets to kill.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I only
Even
got
if-
10 bullets.
even if you're in the and then what do you do? You abandon everybody. You go into the crafting table, in the room, and just start trying to make more bullets. Oh wait, don't have no gunpowder. So then you just use your dumb knife or your knife on a stick. The best thing in that game is those stupid fences.
Yeah, those fences came in the clutch a lot of times.
Yeah, so you can stab them through the fence and just kind of slow them down and make sure they don't damage the fence, and then that's it. But then you have those ones that are bomb ones, and I'm not really happy with the final outcome. But then again, I think a lot of Metal Gear fans will not be very happy with what they have to offer. I feel like in a lot of ways the game should have just been called something else. It doesn't need the Metal Gear moniker on it.
I don't get it. It's like it's a horde mode with crafting and survival elements. The two things don't work well together.
It's like,
Well, no, I mean, here's the thing. We talk like Ark, right? Ark was the game that had zombies and crafting, right?
No, that's
DayZ.
Yeah.
DayZ. All right, so it's like that sort of idea where there are millions and millions of zombies everywhere, but the way this thing works is that the horde mode works is that when you attract you run this stupid device that pulls stuff from another dimension, like cardboard boxes or something like that with items in it. So every single time you activate it, it starts a new wave, and they all get attracted to it. And it's just like, all right. And the other disappointing thing about this whole game, the game, is that it's all reused assets of everything that you've played from Metal Gear 5. So it's like we're in this one building. It's like we've seen millions and millions of times in Metal Gear 5, and there it is. We're in the same place where you saved, I don't know, it was one of the early missions where you save one of the Kojima production developers. Like the mine area was the same mine area from Metal Gear 5 where you save the kids, and then they drop the boat where you fight Liquid in there. It's just all things that you've seen before, just kind of
The same maps. And
yeah, it's all the same maps, just reconfigured with junk thrown everywhere.
This is really DLC more than anything.
That was my belief on the whole thing. And the thing is that this also feels like a huge, like an extension of Metal Gear Online. So it's like they took the architecture of Metal Gear Online and then kind of made this new horde mode / crafting thing.
Yeah,
on top
it's a horde mode DayZ, which doesn't really suit the game well, because it's you're either a game that throws in horde mode with a whole bunch of hard ass zombies to take down, and you got plenty of ammo to shoot them all and just mow them down as fast as possible, or you got a survival game where it's a huge world where there's little enemies, but there's little like ammo and guns and stuff, so you're kind of limited to that. But they're trying to make both of these work in this game.
And the other part of it is just, like I said before, it's just all this stuff that you got to babysit. You got to babysit yourself. There's also going to be a mother base area that you can make on your own, that you have to make sure that you babysit that thing. And then, it's, I don't know. I'm not very happy with the outcome, but I think in a lot of ways, a lot of people will not be happy with what it is. They kind of switched around the controls a little bit. Things are a little bit different now. So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be getting this one.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's get started. Manny was like, "Man, I'm not feeling the rainbow."
not feeling the rainbow, and it just feels it's sad in the fact that this could have been like the magic hour. This could have been them saying, "Okay, we're going to prove that we don't need Hideo Kojima to do this shit. We're gonna make the best, coolest game that you could ever think of, right? But what is this? Is it made for the Metal Gear Online fans that are just obsessed with the gameplay portion of the game? Which there are Metal Gear fans that are like that. They don't care for the actual single player sort of game, but they enjoy the Metal Gear Online part. So is this something made for them?
It sounds like they're trying to expand the Metal Gear Online part. It sounds like somebody went in a boardroom and went, you know what's really successful? Grand Theft Auto Online. People like these online games. What else is successful? Gears of War? Is there a way that we can kind of marry those two?
Yeah, it's a lot. it seems like they're trying to attract a different audience than the established audience. So if you're going to attract a different audience than the established audience, then you might as well not just even call it Metal Gear, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
true.
we'll talk more about it later on. But let's answer some questions. Little light on questions. So if you guys are in the chat room right now, ask us any video game related questions, man. And as always, if you're listening to us, watching us live after we finish recording, ask us questions in the comment section. The episode on Twitter, not Twitter, on fucking Facebook, or I'm fucking up tonight. YouTube Coalition. All right, let's go to G Megaforce. The new where the fuck is Final Stage Boss, man? I want to know.
Final stage boss is charging up. He's in the background, like, and then once he comes back, it's just gonna be like, energy wave of questions, like,
yeah, because I remember him saying that he had like a whole like notes of questions, but guess maybe they ran out. Who knows? Anyway, his G Megaforce's first question is, why are kids singled out in multiplayer games? As soon as kids use voice chat, they immediately get targeted by older people. Why? Why do some people feel the need to shut down people, let alone kids? Back in the day, this never happened to me as a child playing PC games online. Is it the platform change, or has the playing field just changed? Interesting question.
What does he mean, like
singling
shut
out
down? Like,
children.
what is it?
I'm guessing like, oh, you're a stupid kid. What are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. You know, shitting on them and stuff. That's what I'm guessing by the
Well,
question.
I mean,
I mute them. I just mute them.
Well, number one, let us just say that
Just be
a
honest
child
here.
should not be playing an immature game.
Yeah.
Which, if they are playing these sorts of games, they should probably be doing with their mom and dad or whoever is playing with them. You find more and more that it's with a lot of these kids, they tend to treat it like it's no rules pasta. There's no adults fucking watching them, and they're all of a sudden, you faggot, you this, you that, you asshole. These kids probably wouldn't even talk around like that around their own parents. So number one, I'm sure that's the one reason why these kids get kicked out, booted out, because a lot of times they're acting incredibly childish, and people don't want to deal with people don't want to fucking babysit somebody else's kid. To just be honest about that. But I'm gonna say this also. There's also the other side of this, where it's like there are genuinely kids that are actually very good. They do what they're supposed to do. They're probably better than some of the people that are actually playing. But because there's so many kids that are on there, just essentially no rules pasta, nobody wants to treat them with anything.
I would also state that the way in which a lot of kids are good at video games is distinctly different than the way a lot of adults are quote unquote good at video games. Every time that you boot up a game like Call of Duty or Battlefield or anything like that, any multiplayer game whatsoever, when you reach the times where children are on the most, when you reach those, before curfew, as I like to call it, there is a definite spike in assholery and trolling.
Oh,
there
yeah,
are
definitely.
way more snipers. There are way more people who have played the game enough to take advantage of standing in this one corner and shooting out. Kids generally tend to watch Let's Play videos and use a lot of exploits and things like that. Like when you're GTA Online is the worst. Like if you want to actually run missions and have other players fight you in a non-cheap way, you have to play at night, because the second you get on when a bunch of kids are on, you're going to get sniped out of nowhere because somebody knows the exact warehouse that you probably have, and they're going to lay on the roof for no other reason than to just be a dick and troll you because they have a bunch of time on their hands. So not only is there the general attitude of having to listen to them, but even if they're on mute a lot of times, I don't want to play with kids because they play differently. And it's not I'm playing right and they're playing wrong. It's that their objectives when they play are different than mine. When I play a game like Battlefield, I want to have a good time. I want to run around. I want to dodge. I want a gun or something like that. We have it up at work. So yeah, we definitely stay off around 3:00 because kids get on and then everybody's fucking stuck in a corner in black armor, just trying to rack up as many kills as possible. Not everybody plays that way, but the vast majority do. And
kids in general will stick to one technique and consistently use it all the time. I remember, playing Virtua Fighter, right? And there's some characters have these specific moves that just kind of negates every single other one, and they'll just continue to spam that move just to win.
Yeah. Yeah, and Let's Play videos and all that have made everything worse. You know,
Mhm.
you have and granted there are more online interactions, but you have way stronger metas in video games these days than you do in any other games. And a lot of people, you know, who are our age tend to play against the grain of the meta. If you heard that, you know, Tony's a great example. When he picked up Monster Hunter, he didn't want to use the sword and shield because he felt it was too basic. He felt it was the
Mhm.
basic thing that you got. Even though it's one of the most efficient and useful weapons in the game, Tony's like, it just feels basic and kind of like a gimme. I want a little bit more of a challenge and a little bit more flair. That is absolutely the opposite of the attitude of a lot of people who watch Let's Play videos. They're looking for the most efficient thing, and they all jump on that bandwagon.
That's precisely the reason why I always use the samurai sword, because I got pretty good with the damn samurai sword, but it's just not doing enough damage for me in Monster. But I'm, you know, once the final game comes out, I'm gonna rock that samurai sword. That's my thing.
Oh, by the
Yeah,
way,
you
I should say this. In Monster Hunter, I'm learning that when I play by myself, you know, in single player, I rock with the sword and shield. When I play multiplayer, I like that big fucking axe thing. You know, it's kind of Destiny's like that too. It's like I use a specific gun when I'm playing the main game, then a different gun when I'm playing multiplayer. I don't really have.
I stole them with Gunlands for sure.
Yeah, I don't really have you know, anything to add to this because Manny kind of just said it. It's like basically kids are really fucking annoying. You don't want to play those little shits, so that's why I don't condone shitting on them or whatever. But kids are very, very annoying. It's like I'm an old man. I'm not trying to deal with this shit. Like, man, that's a perfect thing. I'm not trying to babysit your kids. Keep them off my fucking game.
I mean,
you know,
I definitely feel like there are exceptions to the rule, but I mean, maybe also, you know, when you were playing G Megaforce, like, you know, I'm sure the playing field was a little bit different then. You know, I mean, you didn't.
they didn't have Let's Plays back then.
They didn't have Let's Plays, and I feel like in a lot of ways people tend to, you know, especially if they can see that you're doing a good job, and I'm not being a fucking ass. I'm sure they'll be like, yeah, we'll have that kid on our team. But I mean, it's a very rare thing. I almost feel like for like the shit like Call of Duty and stuff like that, they should have like the kids room, the kids play room.
I think it also depends. There are certain games that have taken on a trend of taking an amount of time, a big amount of time. Sorry, I got distracted by a Monster Hunter trailer on the TV. Kids have a lot of time to invest in video games. So if you are talking about a video game that's more skills based, I haven't mentioned Dark Souls yet in this episode, so here we go. Like Dark Souls, I actually relished the time before curfew with Dark Souls because kids would try to invade your game and pull asshole moves, and you would just 90% of the time wreck the fuck out of them. If you want to do a skill based game, then that kind of evens the playing field, because if a 12-year-old is just as good as you at a video game, it's a little less annoying. I really have no other way to put it than that. If a 12-year-old is being a cheap asshole and accruing a fuck ton of experience points and leveling up faster because they have the time and they know all the shortcuts, yeah, fuck that guy. That guy. They're just being an asshole gamer. So I mean, I think it just depends. But on skill based games like on Street Fighter or a lot of fighting based games like Dragon Ball, when it comes out, most of you guys who learn how to actually play the game will be able to whoop the shit out of anybody who hasn't had 2 decades of fighting game experience. And I'm pretty sure you'll stand behind that. And there's no leveling up in the game or anything like that. So you'll come across somebody who's just using the same combo over and over and over and over again, and then you'll punish them for it. And then you'll get an easy win. You'll be like, that was fun. I mean, am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Like,
I think that you said, about almost any game like that. You know, you just keep playing. Same thing goes with sport games. You see it all the time with Madden and FIFA and all that stuff. They change these, but it's never too drastic. And then somebody jumps in and it's like, oh, can I play? And then they get whooped. And they're like, but you had a weaker team. He's like, yeah, but I know the buttons. I have skill. I know what I'm doing. You think you just pick the best team like Real Madrid or Barcelona and you could just run through everybody.
Yeah. I don't like playing with kids. It's very, very annoying.
And I was thinking also, like, was this the same case back in the day? Because I used to be a kid playing online games, mature online games, and on online multiplayer, and I wouldn't get the same thing like it's going on today. But I think a reason for that is that back then it was kind of a young man's game, the whole multiplayer online. I don't think as many adults play as there are now. So I'm pretty sure the majority of people who play online games are adults. So every time a kid pops in, yelling out expletives and stuff, it's even more, like it's even more like sound, like people.
Carlos, you just said something funny. You just said when you were a kid in multiplayer. We didn't have it when we were kids. There were no multiplayer.
that popped out to me. I'm like that shit did not exist. Like multiplayer existed when I was already an adult.
That's what I'm saying. I was in college already.
I'll let you know how young Carlos is and how old we are
for consoles. Yeah.
Nah, man, I was playing Command and Conquer before I was 12.
But that's PC. We're talking about consoles.
No, what are you saying? When back in the day,
I'm saying on consoles. Yeah, I'm saying no PC. I never counted that because
games.
No one talked. When I played Command and Conquer. I played Age of Empires. I played
typed.
Warcraft. Exactly,
yeah, you didn't talk.
But it wasn't different. It was different. Even Diablo. You know what I mean? You typed BattleNet. You didn't talk, so you didn't hear all the bullshit that you're hearing now.
That's true. I think that's the big key point of it is when you talked, people didn't know you were a kid unless you were a fucking idiot, and they'd be like, "What are you, 12?" And you'd be like, "No, I'm 13 and a half, asshole." Like, okay, get out of the fucking group. Also, Warcraft is kind of the same way.
PC gaming, at least, I mean, PC has had online multiplayer for the longest time.
Yeah.
But back then, it used to be the servers hosted to chat. So people weren't just in the game, like joining the game and then just talking to each other as soon as they got matched up with each other. And at least my first experience chatting with people like that was in Xbox, when the original Xbox had online.
Please tell me you were an adult at that time.
Oh no, I was a kid.
Damn, son.
I was like, when the Xbox
Adam,
came out, I was like
making us old as shit. Damn.
Oh.
Xbox, I was like 21 when that shit came out.
Yeah, 21 or 22.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
When the first Xbox came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That was 2001, right?
2001, I think.
Huh?
2001?
Was it 2000?
If it was 2000, I was 20 then.
They were 20. Yeah.
Oh.
Chris is like, man, I played that shit in my dorm.
Oh.
I was already done with college by then.
Because I remember spending a lot of time playing it because of 9/11. So
yeah, that's 2001. Yeah, 2001. So yeah. Anyway, Any last thoughts on this before we go on? Because we're kind of just lingering on this shit.
I think
kids are fucking stupid. Anyway, let's move on to the second question. Another kind of kid-related type of question. So this one is what are your thoughts or idea? Okay, actually, what are thoughts or ideas that you had as a younger gamer that seem ridiculous now? He goes, I remember when I was 10 years old or so and first saw Mortal Kombat in the arcade and thought it was the pinnacle of video game graphics. I mean, they used actual actors as the characters. My friend and I would discuss how amazing it was and how cool it was to see real people in the game and how it couldn't possibly get any better. Little did we know that world size, interactivity with the background, and lighting were all important factors. So yeah, what are some notions that you had as a kid gamer that you're like, that was stupid? I like this question.
I mean, at least for fighting games, I mean, me and you, Tony, we're always obsessed with fighting games, but I don't remember ever saying that Mortal Kombat was any better than Street Fighter.
No. I mean, we always said the opposite. We always said Street Fighter is a better game.
Yeah.
But he's talking about just in general. I have one. I've talked about it on the show. It's kind of related to this, but again, it could be about anything. But the thing is, and I don't know if this counts because I still have this notion as an adult. Basically, whatever generation it is, I'm like, it can't get any better than this. Like graphically, I'm like, this shit. Like I remember the first time I really, really felt that was PS2. I'm like, that's it. We hit the pinnacle. This shit can't get better looking. Then we had PS3. I'm like, okay, that's it. We just reached the mountain. It cannot get better looking than this. Now we reached PS4. I'm like, okay, Tony, shut the fuck up. You keep being wrong about this shit.
I never feel like we've reached the pinnacle. I still feel like we haven't reached the pinnacle I dreamed about when I was a kid. We've gotten close. Like Cuphead's a great example.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the way I felt like when I forgot what PS2 game it was. Actually, a lot of the PS2 games, like, that's it. You cannot get better than this. This is the top. You cannot outdo this.
Awkward polygon character models and
armor. But that shit looked great back then.
You're thinking early PlayStation 2 stuff. later
No, I'm
stuff.
thinking PlayStation. Dude, you still have armor clipping in PS4 games.
Oh yeah, we still do.
But again,
because
that's what I mean. It seems ridiculous now because back then I'm like, that's it. It doesn't get better than this. I thought the same thing with PS3. When I saw the PS4 graphics, I almost said, I'm like, Tony, shut the fuck up. You're gonna be wrong again. They're gonna come up with the PS5. The shit's gonna look even better. So
I feel like
I honestly, I still can't imagine it, but I just have to assume it's gonna get better. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, I feel like as far as graphical fidelity goes, it's always going to get better. I mean, but here's the thing: is that we've reached a level where games don't look horrible anymore.
I got another one. I need to do this. I'm cheating a little bit. I got another one. When I was a kid, I used to think that if you were a gaming journalist, you need to be the greatest gamer of all time. Little did I know, once I got into the industry, I learned it was the opposite that was true.
I think a lot of us thought like that too.
Hey man, you gotta be a writer first. Doesn't matter if you can actually play.
Yeah, but again, me, like most people thought, if you're an awesome gamer, you could be a games writer, and that's it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. That's why the tactics guys were always different people than the actual guys that wrote the articles.
Yeah, that's right.
You never heard any of the guys who did the reviews talking about tactics and how to finish a game. Those were two totally different people.
Yeah, but again,
back in the day, you had to be able to finish the game enough to see the final levels at least.
Yeah. Anyway, Manny, do you have any gamer notions from you were a kid? You're like, that's kind of silly.
Gamer notions when I was a kid. Well, I did. Well, I did. It's to go back to your previous thing. I did think that the 3DO at the time was like the pinnacle of anything. I was like, well, this is like, I don't know why nobody's ever picked this thing up because it's like
Way of the Warrior. Remember that?
Yeah, Way of the Warrior.
I remember what was it? I think it was late. It was like a Friday or something, and it was at night. And you called me up, and you were like, "Guess what I have?" I was like, "What?" You like, "I have Way of the Warrior." And I remember trooping all the way out to where you live. I got there late that night just so we could play because I didn't believe it. I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, we go. But Naughty Dog's like second game or first game. It's, I mean, yeah, like the Way of the Warrior, a lot of the really cool full motion video games. It's like, wow, this looks really cool. This is, it's like a multimedia service. You can play movies. You
remember
can
that Sherlock
play
Holmes
video
game?
games.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Lost Files of Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
That was always, it was like, that was cool. It's like, hey, it's like these multimedia experiences. Little did I know that when the later games came along, it could even get better than that.
Yeah.
And this is like 16-bit era, like end of 16-bit era.
Yeah, when you saw those like FMV games, like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing, like, you got to also like this is also around the time of Sega, like the end of the Sega CD, and we're like, even then we're like, this video looks like shit.
Yeah,
it's all like pigmented and pixelated and all that stuff. When you got on the 3DO, it's like, ooh, that looks like I can actually watch this. So yeah, that was it. That was it for me on that one. But then after that, I just said, you know what? I'm gonna let it. I don't need to think about the generation. Just play in the now. Yeah.
All right, Chris. What about you?
I can't think of anything like that. We're still on the the child notions.
Yeah, like notions that you had as a kid about video games that you look back on, you're like, yeah, that's kind of dumb.
I guess I was with you with the looks. I mean, I came from Atari, so when I saw NES, it was like blew my mind,
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing, except for Genesis, I was like, oh my god! Whoa. And I played like Batman. I went to my buddy's house and played Star Fox. I'm like, 3D shit, man, this is great. Like I was always getting my mind blown. Now I guess the kids take it for granted. So but I did think that controllers wouldn't get as complex as they were. Like I thought the Super Nintendo controller had too many buttons, right? And then when Genesis went from 3 to 6 buttons, I'm like, this is too many buttons, man. How many buttons do you need? And now we have like 20 buttons. Jeez.
Yeah, there's like 20
Picks now.
clickable buttons if you really break it down. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
Yeah.
it was like a gradual thing, so I didn't realize it. I was just like, oh shit, they got 8 buttons in this motherfucker. Let's go. You know?
Yeah, six buttons was the pinnacle. It's like, oh, 6 buttons.
Yeah, but
in
remember
Street
the
Fighter.
Sega Saturn had like 6 face buttons and then 2 top ones. Like, oh, this is
Yeah.
getting real right now. You know? I was like, add
Now
more of
we-
those motherfuckers. Let's
Now
go.
we have more buttons. Now we have enough buttons to actually play Street Fighter properly.
Yeah, that's right.
I
Yeah.
remember with the first Xbox, and I was dating some girl, and I was like, "Oh, here, play this game." And she looked like it was like some foreign buck. Like, whoa, wait, what is this? This is too big. It's like, and she couldn't reach the.
Yo,
white
Adam,
and
was she
stuff.
talking about
No,
the
the
controller, son, or something else?
Dude,
Oh, thank you. Right, that was after the game. But but she couldn't move her fingers around it. She was like, "This is how do you use this?" And I didn't even think about that. And then a year later they came with the redesign, and then I found out a lot of people had that problem. They
was
couldn't
the
reach
Duke.
the white black button.
Yo, was this the Duke?
But it was big.
It was
That's
the
the
Duke,
Duke.
right?
The
The
Duke,
Duke
man.
is back, baby. All right, Carlos, man, what about you?
I don't know. Probably. I thought that I would never. I always thought that Halo was going to be my favorite franchise of all time. That should change after a generation. But-
Ooh, you know, speaking about that, I felt the same way when I was playing Virtua Fighter. So I'm like, this is the greatest fighting game of all time right now. I felt that way for like a good month. And then I think I started playing Alpha. I'm like, never mind.
Well, also one thing that I think is kind of ridiculous now retroactively is I never complained too much about the N64 controller. I mean, like I never bitched about it, and that's ridiculous thinking about it now. I'm like, why didn't I complain about this controller? Because it's
Well, you
so
know,
horrible.
I complained about it,
You
and
know
I
what
didn't
it
even
is?
get.
It
I
was-
didn't even buy this shit. I complained about it.
It was the only. Yeah, we hated that controller, but it was also you never thought about it there because like I think a lot of times when we think about the previous generations, we never thought about it about how bad it might have been at the time because it was all that was existed. I mean, like that, all that existed. Like I remember, like the friggin' Atari, like a Joy controller or Joy whatever joystick. That thing was the worst thing ever. It never worked right.
Yeah.
Like if anybody ever played those things, it's like nowadays they make newer versions of those things that work way better than they did. A lot of times, the leads would, and you had to open up the damn thing and try to fix it. So,
Oh man, that was the worst.
Yeah.
so yeah.
All right, Brian, what about you, man?
I'd have to go with the notion that EA was actually a good publisher
Oh shit.
and had good intentions. And then, well, look at them now.
I
It
think,
turned into
but you,
a
but you,
company, like
but-
in gaming.
oh wait, you didn't live in the era when EA was actually a good company, a nice company.
A nice company.
Yeah. You back in the day when there was only like 20 people that actually ran EA instead of them being this big monster that they are nowadays.
Yeah, that's true.
That's crazy. All right, Brett, what about you?
Most of the stuff I thought when I was young, I still kind of think. I was never really prey to the whole games are at their pinnacle.
Wait,
they-
wait. So do you think that Genesis does what Nintendo don't?
Oh yeah, yeah, I absolutely do. The one thing that I guess I thought that might be ridiculous, but I still feel like one day we might kind of get here is I always had this idea that as multiplayer gaming became a big thing and as character customization became a big thing, that you'd have an avatar that you'd be able to transfer between games and possibly even some sort of like PlayStation home lobby. Like I'd always thought, you'd be able to jump into a player lobby and then meet up with a couple friends, and then jump into a game and have the option to have your avatars carry over, so that you'd be able to kind of learn to like be more familiar with your avatar. It's the same reason that you like the 6th movie with Thor in it, because you've grown to like Thor. Like you would develop a connection to your avatar after a while. Be like, no, that's my guy. That's who I play in every game. And a lot of people still do that. They still recreate the same kind of avatar. But I had always thought you'd be able to kind of just transfer those over a little bit.
So like what they did with 360 when they had their own little avatar and he would jump in certain games and it was always the same one.
or the Mii's from Nintendo, where essentially they had
more sophisticated versions of those.
I mean, it would mean that every single game would have to use the same character creator. It would be really hard to do, but it's an interesting idea.
It wouldn't have to be the exact same. Like, you could transfer it down to like, oh, your character has like, smaller eyes and silver hair, and like, you could dumb it down and have it, basically just have an algorithm that kind of converts, character choice 1 to character choice 1. Then you just have somebody go through when they're making their character creators and be like, okay, so this haircut looks like this haircut, so I'll link all these haircuts to this haircut. And so you'd see an iteration of your character. It wouldn't be the exact same character. It would match the graphics of your game, or any game that you got to customize your character in, rather. So even like GTA, you'd see kind of GTA style, and they may not always look the same. In some games, they may look goofy, but I thought that there would at least be some kind of synchronicity. I didn't expect every game to have, and that was kind of the problem with the Mii's is, the Mii's look stupid in some games. So I figured you would probably create something in the lobby, and the lobby would have the most options, and that would be the standardized thing that game developers could distill downwards from.
All right.
So and that way you could do cool. And I also thought you'd be able to do like cool customization options. Like if you bought or earned a cool haircut, you could transfer that. Take it between games. I liked the idea, and this is no secret. I liked the idea of what PlayStation Home wanted to be when it first came out. The idea that by playing certain games, you could unlock certain cosmetics or certain like pieces of furniture for your little virtual house. Then you could call 3 or 4 people over to your virtual house and launch a game from there. So I guess I just kind of I was like, okay, finally, here it comes. And then it never really materialized. Another good example that's relevant because it's coming up is the way that they do it in Ready Player One, where you just kind of have.
That's what I was going to say, Ready Player One.
Yeah. So I had always thought that was going to be a thing, but apparently it's just not.
All right, Adam, what about you, man?
That was pretty much the same thing, like 3DO, like Road Rash and stuff like that, and the way FIFA looked on it. I thought that was it. I was like, damn, this is better than what it looks like in the arcade. I got my money's worth. I paid $1 gazillion for that thing. So I thought that was it. And it had the headphone jack. I was like, this.
And the controller,
was awesome.
Which Sony finally did, or Microsoft, they finally did.
Yeah. I was like, this is great. It can't get any better. And of course it did. But for me, that was a big one. And then was it? What happened after that? I think there was something else. It was another
PlayStation. You got after that one.
Yeah, no, I got all of them. I kept getting them, but it was still that one. I think was a changing point when it came to how games looked before that. Because before that, nothing was on that level, like what we just said about. I mean, remember playing Pit Fighter in the arcade?
Oh shit, Pit Fighter.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, this looks pretty cool, And then we saw Way of the Warrior, and then it had White Zombie music, and this is like the first time I can remember like legit music.
Playing in the game
that we knew in the game, and then Road Rash with Soundgarden and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, we are getting top-notch quality now. We're walking away from that beep, 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 all that stupid shit. We actually had real music. I was like, yeah.
Yo, you know what? Jumping on that real quick, I think I know why specifically the PS2 era was the one where I'm like, it doesn't get better than this. Because my whole life before that, I would go to arcades and be like, this is the pinnacle. You can't get better than this. Then when PS2 overtook that, I'm like, okay, they did it. That's it. We've plateaued. Obviously I was wrong, but because back, remember Manny, like Virtua Fighter 2 was crazy, and then Virtua Fighter 3 came out. It's like, holy shit, this is insane. My home consoles ain't touching this shit, and then the PS2 blew it out of the water. I'm like, oh my god, like, no, you can't get beyond this. But I think it's because we were older and we came from like stupid little pixels and shit. That's why all that stuff blew us away.
Yeah, we actually got to see the game
evolution
change before the evolution of all gaming in front of our eyes. Whereas a lot of people now, it's like some people grew up in the their first gaming console was the PlayStation 1 or even PlayStation
2. Think about that shit.
The 3,
man, it's crazy. All right, let's move on here. Stephen O'Brien, who is a new name. I don't know if he's a new fan, but he's a new name for the question show. So welcome, sir. And also because he's a new name, I'm guessing that's why he asked these long ass questions. So like, bro, next time truncate it down a little bit. All right, the first, both of these are about Nintendo, and I'm guessing, I could be wrong here, he doesn't like Nintendo very much.
Okay.
All right, his first question is, are the Amiibo chest drops in Breath of the Wild loot boxes? I ask because you have to pay real money for them. The Amiibo are just a proxy. You get one drop a day, and the chest's contents are randomized. There is a clear incentive to purchase these chest drops because they contain exclusive content which cannot be found in-game. Even though these things could have been added without any issue, the content is withheld for profiteering reasons.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass because a lot of those suits are super expensive, and they're rare. And it sucks. It sucks to put things like that behind a paywall, especially like modes. Like when we talked about that hard mode and stuff. Like I can send certain items.
For Metroid.
Yeah, was it Metroid or Zelda? Was it Zelda that has
No,
that
it was
extra?
No, it was Metroid's got the
It was
hard
Metroid,
mode is only unlockable
Yeah.
with the Metroid Amiibo.
So what's going on, OBJ? So yeah, what do you guys say about this? Are these loot boxes or not? Just jump in.
So they're randomized?
I don't even know about these things. Like I thought.
They're not
No, they're not randomized.
I didn't think they
linked to
were.
it.
I don't think they were.
Most of them are randomized because certain amiibos are supposed to unlock certain things, but you're not guaranteed at any time to get that thing when you use it, right? So I've done it multiple times. Like I have a bunch of them, right? And I'll go once a day and I'll go put them on the controller and the chest will pop down. The chest could just have like arrows in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it has a rare piece of clothing or it has a rare weapon, but that's few and far between as far as I've seen.
Well,
It
okay.
is random.
It's randomized within a certain loot table. So generally, it has the loot table is you can get these 6 things from the amiibo and you have more chance to get some than more, and so it has the random number generator but on a fixed loot table. So and because you get unlimited uses from the amiibos, you're eventually guaranteed everything within that loot table. So if an amiibo unlocks a special costume, you will get that special costume, period. It's just a question of how long does it take, and in my experience, like generally a couple of days. And one thing that I want to point out, because a lot of people get a lot of really heated about this, and like I absolutely understand where you're coming from. It's content that is locked behind a paywall and blah blah all this other shit. Usually, a lot of times it's not exclusive content. Even when it is, like I just want to point out what you're getting for the value. Most amiibos are actually high quality items. They're not the cheapest made things. If you look at the nearest analog, and this is being quite fucking generous, you're talking about blind box figures, little vinyl 3.5-inch figures, and those things usually go for about on average $10 a piece, depending on what series it's from or how rare it is. Or if you're looking for the box or the open one. So little figures about that big generally run for about $10 a piece. Anything more starts to run towards the $15 range, which is where the amiibos sit. If they were selling amiibos for $30, I would absolutely agree with you 100% every day, all day. But the problem is you are basically buying the toy and getting the bonus content for free. That is the little extra that comes along with buying the little figurine. And as long as it doesn't drive up the price drastically of the original figurine, somebody explain to me where the problem comes in with this. Is it just the morality of I can't get this unless I don't buy this other thing?
No, because we've had this discussion before. My thing is, I want the content. I don't want the toy. That's where I'm coming at it from.
But that's it. It's forcing you to buy something else to get. There's no alternative. It's not like, all right, you know what? We have this content.
So you guys
in
would be
the
just
store.
as happy if they charged you $15 for DLC that you could just download
If
the
it was in
content.
the store.
Yeah, I would be better with that because
if
I don't want or need the toy.
Yeah.
Well, that's weird and unexpected. Okay, so you guys would be just willing to pay for the digital content. You're not saying you just want it handed to you for free.
Yeah, I want it free. I'd rather pay $15.
If there's already a charge for it, if there's already a charge, someone else is paying it. I shouldn't get it for free. Someone else is paying a lot of money just to get the toy included with the content. I don't want the toy. So
I'd be okay with that. I think a lot of people are arguing that the content should be free. that they shouldn't have to buy the toy to be able to get the content. And I feel that's a very entitled point of view. That's just me. But if you guys are actually arguing like, no, I just, maybe even at a discounted price, I'd like to just be able to buy the content, like buy a digital.
Yeah, I don't
badge
want it
that lets
free.
me-
That's fucking entitled. Like
Yeah,
I don't want it free. I just don't want the fucking toy.
I can see that. Why
A lot
can't
of
you
those
just
toys
make
are
a
super
digital?
expensive.
Like
They're expensive.
here's I think this would be fair. $10 for the DLC, $15 for the toy and the DLC. I don't think that'd be too bad.
No, I think that'd be cool. And then you could have like just a little folder of icons that you could just like pop in and like, pause the game, digitally click your icon, get your quote unquote digital amiibo reward, and move on with your fucking day.
Yeah, there you go. Now you
Well,
get it.
I think one better would be if the DLC was split up, so I get the thing I wanted, right, from the toy. Like if you wanted Epona, they should just have the Epona DLC. Like I shouldn't have to keep putting the toy on the controller and like, did I get it today? Okay. Also with the clothes, and they should have done something else for that, or that should have been the first thing to come out of the amiibo. Then after that, mushrooms and arrows and shit can come out. I don't care.
Epona's DLC?
Yeah.
What? Is this the only Zelda game that doesn't have Epona?
This is the modern age, bro.
The Epona is if you have the Epona amiibo, then what it'll do is
you'll have an odds. You have odds of getting and I got her eventually. Just the same with the Twilight Princess Zelda suit.
Yeah.
Like that's from another amiibo, and then I was days and days like, oh, I got the pants. Okay, wait. Okay, I got the shirt now. I got the hat. Like it takes forever to get that one.
Or Wolf Link. Well, you have the wolf. You have to have the Twilight Princess thingy. You use that to get the Wolf Link companion.
Mm.
Yeah, but anyway, to answer this man's question, are these loot boxes? Yes or no?
Are they loot boxes?
Well, in one way, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong because the way he described it by that definition absolutely is a loot box. But it's in a weird area because the way EA did their loot boxes, right? Like an Activision is just completely reprehensible with consumable colors and outfits and all that shit, and then you have to keep paying into the loot boxes, right? You have Battlefront 2, you have to keep buying the loot boxes. With the amiibo, it's one price, and then you just use it daily, and then you'll get everything that it has to offer. So in that, if you look at it comparatively, then it's not really, but but by his definition, then it kind of is, yeah.
All right, so let's move on to his next part. Go ahead, Brett.
I just want to say while I half agree with Chris, I think it one step further, and I will say I don't think it is, because inherently a loot box means that you're not guaranteed to get the items that you want, which means that it's a gamble on whether or not the money you're spending is going to have the value that you want it to have. With an amiibo, you at least eventually get all the digital content, plus you have the figure, not the toy, the figure. That comes with.
Isn't it randomized the timing? So it's not like I don't know, like you
may not get it the first day, but you're guaranteed to get it. Period. Usually within like 3-4 tries. I mean, at least in my experience, to get the whole set of something takes up to maybe a week, and that's if it's like 4 pieces. Usually it's pretty good about giving you the special armor pieces or what have you. And then once you have it, it just kind of starts, here's mushrooms and all that stuff. But the point is that if I buy an amiibo, like for instance, I bought the 30th anniversary Zelda edition amiibo because it's pixelated and it was awesome looking and I just wanted it. But then when I had Breath of the Wild, it promised me that I got the outfit from the very first Zelda. So I want to say within 6 days, I had all 4 pieces. So it's not terrible, but when I bought that Zelda amiibo, I knew for a fact that I had the little statue, and then I knew for a fact that I would get the costume. And
here's the kicker though about all of this. All that stuff's already in the game. Yeah. It's just you need that silly little toy to unlock it. Which is
you can actually most of it's endgame content actually. Like if you find all the shrines, you can get the
one version of that costume because it's a different one.
Yeah, I think there are a couple versions, but I think they're damn near identical. So, it's Yeah, I get it. It's a business practice. You're trying to maintain exclusivity. You're trying to make both people who don't want to buy the extra content happy and the people who do want to buy the extra content. My question is like, we didn't have this problem, or like we didn't complain about this kind of shit the same way when I was younger. Like,
We didn't have
if
amiibos when we were younger, man.
no, dude, but I had like collectible card packs and shit. You constantly had to buy like
For a
how
video
many
game?
card. No, for just collecting cards. Like how many packs of Marvel Masterpiece did you have to open that you ended up getting nothing new that you needed, and in pretty much they became $5, $5-6 thrown down a hole to get what you wanted. Like
Yeah, you
I'm,
had to
I'm
get
not.
them holograms, bro.
That's what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's an awesome business practice, but what I am saying is like it's not that far different than the things that we've been doing. So at least in my opinion, with an amiibo, like, am I gonna get the stuff that it promises plus the thing that I can see? Then yes. Okay, well then there's no chance that I'm gonna spend this money and it be money worthlessly spent. The only thing I'm really having to critically look at is how many days is it going to take me to unlock this fucking costume, and that's more of an inconvenience than a paywall.
Well, in regards to the cards, like I used to collect Pokemon cards when I was a kid, and once I was old enough to realize that they're screwing me over by consistently buying these cards with no hope of getting new ones at a rate that would, you know, satisfy my purchases. And I was like, no, I'm not going to play with these cards anymore. And I grew up. That's what kind of happened with Battlefront, but not really, because it's in MPDs now. So it's like, yeah, like people need to like vote with their wallets, man. People don't do that anymore.
Well, no, I mean, unfortunately, and I saw it happen firsthand. I work at Waldo's Dark Side Tattoo. It's a Star Wars themed shop. Like, there was no talking my boss out of buying that game, and eventually it spawned another copy of the game because the other artist bought it, and eventually I'll probably pick up a copy too. Now the good thing is that it's down to like $34, so they're not getting their pound of flesh like they wanted to. The bad news is that those games tend to propagate like, oh man, you should really pick up this game with me. I know a bunch of people. I would bet my hat that I know a bunch of people that are going to pick up Monster Hunter just because they know a bunch of people that are going to pick up Monster Hunter. So as bad as it is, yeah, like there are people that are just going to ignore it because they really want to play a Star Wars game, and yeah, they're not all bad people, man.
No, they just
this
don't know that they're getting screwed over. They don't realize.
Or, you know, sometimes they do, and they're like, this one time I'm willing to suck it up for this one thing. And the problem is that for just about every franchise, there's that core group of people that'll say, all right, I'll suck it up for this one. Like,
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes the crack is just too good for these people. Like freaking Madden, like people know what's going on. People are like, they're not even pretending, you know. So, but they keep buying it because like they love Madden and FIFA and all those games.
Yo, and how many, kind of off topic, but how many times don't you hear this every year? I'm not buying Call of Duty again. I'm done with Call of Duty. I'm done with Call of Duty. Come right the fuck back every year. It's the same
Not from
thing.
me.
No, not Adam. Obviously, he's the truth. But every person I know except Adam that used to be Call of Duty, I'm not buying this year. I'm not buying this year. Fuck Call of Duty. They always buy.
But
this
why?
shit.
Why the hate? That's what I don't get. I was like, what's so bad about it? For those people, I can't ask you guys. You don't play it, but for
Yeah.
those, I would like to get one of those
play it.
guys just to hear.
Every
like,
year
what's
it's the
issue.
same thing. Like, yo, I'm not buying Call of Duty. I'm done. I'm
Or
done.
is
I'm
it,
done.
is it that new jeans type feel like, well, I have to get something new. I can't be buying the same old shit. What's the new brand? I think that's the reason why they're waiting for something bigger, better to come out.
Yeah, I think it was with Modern Warfare 2, like a bunch of these PC guys were saying, we're not going to buy the game. We're not going to buy the game. And then when the game came out, all those guys, because they had their gamer tags and shit, all of them were playing the game on day one.
You know why?
Infinite War,
Because
look at that. That one.
you've got the whole player base held hostage, especially with yearly games like that. Like, you play Call of Duty to play online. Most of the player base moves on when you release the new game. So basically, you have the option of your entire group of play buddies has just been held hostage.
Yeah, the lifespan of these games is really short. It's pretty much every year when the new one comes out. So people have to keep buying these games or they'll be left behind.
Oh shit.
Yeah, the lifespan is literally a year,
Yeah, well, and the developers know that. That's why they come out with these games every year. I had read an article way back in the day when I was still a huge Xbox fan that was talking about how the Microsoft's friends list was basically a way to hold your friends hostage, because they something about like if you lost your gold membership, then you couldn't connect with people.
What?
It may have even been just the idea of talking about how if you didn't have gold, you couldn't play multiplayer games with your friends.
The multiplayer side. You can still chat with them and do all that stuff.
But that's why I said that.
Not back then.
Back
then.
No, you couldn't.
You couldn't play online, but you can talk to them.
You couldn't join a group chat.
I've always had it, so I can't say.
No,
I've always had it too, so maybe I'm wrong.
I think this is so far back that they could have just been talking about the fact like I can't play a multiplayer game with my friends unless I keep up with my Xbox Gold membership. But it might have been locking a chat too. The point was that the idea that they were expressing was a very simple one, in that if you don't pay this company money every month, then they are going to cut you off from not only your main entertainment source, but your social circle as well. And that they were very aware of that, and that was built into the marketing strategy of the console. And I found that to be a deplorable practice that has since become commonplace, and it is the whole thing.
I don't know about that, because now I definitely know, because I had friends that didn't have gold, and I would still talk to them. I'm like, yo, you got it. Especially for Burnout Paradise, I recall having buddies like, damn, maybe I'll get the gold so we could play online and do all that stuff. I was like, yeah, it's fun. We got all these missions. They're like, all right, I'll see. So you can still chat with people. You just couldn't play with them.
No, and that's what I'm saying. I think this was old enough that when I say a long time ago, this is when we all still had our feathers ruffled about the fact, like, wait a minute, we can't play multiplayer games unless we pay you a fee? Like, I think that was back in that day.
Oh, and I remember getting into it with PlayStation guys, because like, well, you don't have to pay. I said, don't worry, you will one day.
Look what happened. Look what happened. We called that shit too, me and Manny.
Oh, yeah, we knew what was coming.
Anyway, let's move on to the next question here, man. All right, so, okay, this one is a little bit long, but I got to read through it. Okay, do you guys think Nintendo is being overly arrogant and greedy this generation, from releasing half-baked games like ARMS and Splatoon, which rely on consistent digital updates, the obviously rushed Mario Odyssey, the butchering of the dual screen aspect of Breath of the Wild for Wii U owners, the lack of any real pack-in titles at launch, selling rechargeable editions of pack-in controllers separately, the release of DX editions with battle modes, which should have been in the original release, complete editions, which they are still charging a hefty amount for the content on the Wii U. I personally find it awfully suspicious that now, since they're ramping up the bullshit, the media seems to be behind them this generation. It's like the Switch is a Trojan horse or a bait and switch for Nintendo fans. Oh, wow. That's a lot of grievances you got there, bro.
Yep.
I need to jump on the first one. How is Mario Odyssey rushed, bro? The game, that game is not rushed at all, man. I'm telling you, as a guy who got like 880 fucking moons so far, that game is polished as a motherfucker. Very, robust as far as like it comes to, the features and all that. I don't see where the hell that game was rushed, but
I agree with that.
Yeah, but all the other stuff you talked about, we have talked about on the show, prior to the release of Switch and even after the Switch release. Nintendo is just doing the bare minimum they can, to please the fans. And it seems like the fans are just happy enough to have... Actually, I still can't put my finger on why Switch is so fucking popular, to be honest. It's like the Wii U bombed, and then the Switch, didn't bomb, but the Wii U actually had good games, as Carlos has told us many times. It's a little bit weird, but I'm guessing it's because casuals were like, isn't this just the Wii?
You know what it is. Here's the thing about it. Like, you got to remember, the Wii U had that whole brand confusion shit. Is it a update to the Wii? Is the controller the screen, or is it is it a separate tablet? In this situation, there is no confusion as to what the Switch is. It's the screen that connects to your screen, as opposed to the other way around, where it's like, no, this is a screen that connects to a box that connects to your screen. What? Can I buy two of these? No, you can only have one. Like, okay. There's a lot of confusion, I think, because of essentially the Switch is a redo of the Wii U. This is everything everybody thought the Wii U was going to be. And I think that's part of what's happening. There's no real confusion as to what this thing is. That's the number one part of this thing. The number two is that, yes, the trickling down of all this stuff is probably because Nintendo is probably they're trying to edge their bets on it. Now, as opposed to blowing their load once, they have their key moments.
Yeah, by the way, I need to quickly jump into this. I don't know if you guys saw it scrolling over here. So Bryce Douglas, he asked, name a console that launched with pack-in titles. I'll wait. He didn't have to wait. I wrote NES, SNES, Genesis.
Yep,
Okay.
There hasn't been
years ago.
There hasn't been anything besides 20 years ago. There hasn't been a console that has had a pack-in title.
Yeah, but they have existed. Yeah, they have existed though. Just to clear that up.
But not in the lifespan of most of the people even asking this fucking question or listening to this podcast. I need to break this down before we get too far into this because there's a lot here. There's some obvious animosity here, and I'm not going to get down and suck Nintendo's dick. I'm going to start off by saying, first of all, they're a business, so let's give them at least that benefit of the doubt, like every other business. I'm looking at you, Sony, when you said to get a fucking job, and I'm looking at you, Microsoft, when you forced people to buy a Kinect. None of y'all are shameless. So with that being said, though, I want to break down some of this stuff. Half-baked games like ARMS and Splatoon. ARMS was actually a fully functional game with multiplayer on launch, and Splatoon is one of Nintendo's biggest franchises, which has some hardcore fucking fans. So while they may not be your kind of game, I would argue that they are objectively half-baked games based on the response, the reaction, and the crowd of people which are constantly playing and praising these games. I mean, I still fucking see it pop up on Reddit who won Splatoon this week. I don't give a shit. Some people do. Mario Odyssey wasn't rushed. It was a hugely polished game. The butchering of the dual aspect screen for Breath of the Wild on Wii U is because Nintendo does not give a fuck about Wii U and they abandon it like a sack of shit. That's not really surprising. We've talked about that before. The lack of real pack-in titles at launch, again, we've expressed that hasn't happened in 20 years. Selling rechargeable editions of pack-in controllers separately, the controllers that came with your system, actually, you can recharge them. You don't have to buy a separate accessory to recharge them.
By the way, the Wii had a pack-in game.
Did it?
Wii Sports?
Wii Sports.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that, but I feel like that's being generous. The release of DX editions with battle modes, which should have been the original release. Obviously, you're speaking about something specific here, which I can't comment on. Complete editions, which they are still charging a hefty amount for the content on Wii U, etc. That's pretty standard across the board. If you look at a 1.5-year old game on PlayStation Network, you're going to pay full price. That's where GameStops actually do come in. If you want to pay $12 for that game, you pay $12 for a physical copy because a digital copy does not decrease in value the same way, and you're always going to be paying above market value for just about any digital game that you don't get on Steam or on a holiday sale. So with that all broken down, I'm basically left with the release of DX editions that I can't really argue. Am I completely wrong on any of those points? Am I just giving Nintendo a free pass?
Well, I mean, just in a broader scale, to answer his question, is Nintendo arrogant and greedy this generation? The answer is yes, but that's everyone.
Yeah.
It's all about making money, man. That's it. Capitalism. This is it. That's the way it works.
I mean, Sony's living at the top of the hill, man. They think they can't do no wrong right now, so they're pretty arrogant at the moment. Microsoft was arrogant when they released the Kinect and decided to charge $100.
Man, what
extra
a
for the console.
Space. Damn, to stop reminding me of that. That whole press conference. I'll never forget that shit.
Nintendo is arrogant because they decide to release 10-year-old games and charge $60 for them. It's like all these companies are arrogant and greedy.
And they're also releasing fucking cardboard boxes for $80. So
here's the thing that gets me. We're mad at Nintendo for charging $60 for 10-year-old games, but at the same time, we all want them to release the Virtual Console so we can buy 20-year-old games.
But not at the full price.
Not at the full price, exactly.
That's the difference.
No, not price. Not at full price.
That's
it's
the fact that they're old games isn't the issue. The price is the issue.
That is it. That's it. Just the price.
like with Doom. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can. Do you think any system would really be different though? Do you think if they ported over a game to Xbox a year and a half after it had been on PlayStation, do you really not think they would charge $60 for that? Do you think they'd launch it at $30?
I'm pretty sure there's examples out there of that being the case.
I mean,
wasn't Tomb Raider released for cheaper on PlayStation 4?
Yes, it was, and it was a complete edition too.
Content too.
Yeah. Because they know people are not going to pay the same price for the same shit unless they're Nintendo fans.
Well, how much did PC players pay for GTA Online on PC when it first came out?
0. They probably stole that shit, you know?
No, but seriously, GTA 5 cost how much on PC
probably 60,
when it was released over a year?
Probably $60, I believe. Yeah, $60, right?
Yeah, like, I don't think that GTA has ever had a price cut.
No, it never did.
Maybe on sales, because like even right now, it's still like full price.
Brian's right. Brian's right.
You go on PlayStation Network right now. Tell me how much Skyrim is to download. I'll save the time. It's $60.
Yeah, because they know people are going to buy that. Don't you think that's bullshit, though?
I do think it's bullshit, but I don't think it's just Nintendo exclusive bullshit. It's just industry-wide bullshit.
Yeah, no one said it was.
Well, the question does.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he did. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's definitely everyone does that. Like, it's not exclusive to Nintendo, and
that's why I'm not debating the fact that they're greedy or pretentious or don't know their ass from a hole in the ground sometime. And this whole fucking cardboard thing shows that they are not batting 1,000. But I don't like they seem like a video game company. They seem less bad than they used to be. So I don't really understand the whole. I'm just not understanding this bait and switch thing. Like,
it's just because some of the games that came out, even like for example the LA Noire, it was $10 more. So it was like, why are you so special that we have to pay $10 more? Or even Doom was $20 across the board.
Because you can play it on the go.
So that's what I'm saying. They're like, oh, play it on the go. So I have to pay $10 extra for this shit. You know, so that's it. And then the $60 with Doom. That Doom is the only one that really bothered me because across the board it was like $20, $30, and at least $40. Come on now, it's over a year old.
Yeah, I agree with OBJ. He goes, we all have some love for Nintendo, but we have to admit that they get away with shit the other consoles can't get away with.
No, they do.
Yeah, I agree.
The other consoles can't get away with?
That's because of the nostalgia waves.
Yeah.
It's, you know.
I mean, check PlayStation right now. There's a flash sale going on. Like Sony's taking Steam's policy, and Nintendo doesn't run a sale for nothing.
Damn, nope.
No, they won't. But at the same time, like, I don't know, man. I've seen both other video game companies pull some really shady practices, and I've seen PC do some really fucked up things, but in completely different ways. Like, hey, buy this early access game. Kidding. There's no game. Haha. So I mean, I guess I just don't feel any game company is particularly more evil than anyone. Well, I guess I would have said that Xbox used to be at the top of that pile, but Microsoft has kind of tried to clean its shit up.
In defense of the person asking the question, maybe he only has a Nintendo console.
I mean, that's entirely possible, and a lot of these are reasonable grievances. Like, I understand the idea that you feel that it should have had more accessories. My response to that would be like, hey, you got yourself a little tablet and 2 Joy-Cons for $300. Like, that's not great, but it's not bad either when you look at fucking like paying $1,000 for a goddamn iPhone. Like, it's not the best thing in the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like they're selling them at cost, but I don't think that's something that we can reasonably expect. I think Nintendo has a history of selling you accessories happily and charging you too much for them. But again, that's a 25-year-old practice. Well, it's shitty. It's not anything new. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, Nintendo over the generations, like, yeah, this is not the Nintendo of 20 years ago, unfortunately. But it's also, thankfully, not the Nintendo of 10 years ago. So why is it that the Switch in particular is the one that we're bitching about and not the fucking Wii or the Wii U?
We did bitch, and that's why no one bought it, because it sucked. That was a bitch right there. It was like, it just didn't live up to what we expected, especially when we saw that tablet. You know, and I think that was the whole thing. Everybody was like, damn, we can't take this on the go. It doesn't load in here. No, but that's a great idea. We should make something like that. We'll be back. You know?
You know?
And that's it.
That shit is funny, man. By the way, do you remember the days when you could say an Apple phone costs $1,000 as a joke? Remember that shit? Not anymore. Now it's
that
now
shit
it's,
was always expensive. I've
yeah,
had
that's
it
what I'm
since,
saying. No, because remember you're like, yo
2007
man,
when it first launched.
I'm not paying $1,000 for a phone. You kind of said that as a joke. Now it's actually real.
Damn, I remember I paid $450 for the original iPhone when it came out in 2007.
Yeah, like when people used to say $1,000, they were like clearly exaggerating.
Yeah, but not
grossly
anymore.
exaggerating. Now it's literal. Now they're actually rounding down a little bit.
Yep, that's true because you got to pay taxes and shit. All right, let's move on here, man, to Black Metal Gamer. All right, so he asked us about our, like, some gaming peripherals and stuff that we liked and hated. We've answered that before, so I'm gonna answer your question that you deleted for some weird reason. So, he was asking us, do we expect the next Breath of the Wild or Zelda to be like Breath of the Wild open world? We did answer that, but he also wanted to know what features do we want to return, and also what features don't we want to return. So, Brett, let's start with you, man.
Can we get rid of the weapon fragility, or at least
Thank
turn
you.
it down? Like,
Well,
I'll probably
give him the ability to repair it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
that'd be great too. Like, I'm not against the idea of durability on weapons, and I'm not against the idea of most things are consumable, but like even coming from survival games, like, yes, a spear is going to last you until it breaks. I get that. But a fucking longsword, like, maybe you should be able to repair that shit, and don't make it wear down so fucking fast.
Or like, it's like, okay, your sword breaks and you don't think, oh hey, maybe I should keep this hilt and some of the parts so that I can go fix it later. It's like, bing, oh well, don't need that no more.
Well, it's odd because the champion weapons you can repair,
Mhm.
right? But those are the only ones they let you fix.
Yeah.
Oh, and you have to go through so much effort to fucking
Yeah.
repair them.
Yeah, you
bring
do.
me a diamond. I'm like, motherfucker, if this thing was made out of diamond, I would have killed Ganon with it already.
Right?
Break.
Like, this is made out of iron. Here's a lump of iron and a lump of coal. Do your fucking job and put this shit back together.
By the way,
Fuck
by the
you.
way, that's the reason why the armies of Hyrule lost to Ganon. Their swords kept fucking breaking.
Yeah, it's like who makes these swords? We can only hit twice and then they explode.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go full on the other way. Don't give me any of that repair shit either. Don't make the fucking shits break. That's annoying. I just want to use one sword throughout the whole game and not even worry about shit. That's annoying.
Yeah, and then it should be your option to throw it away when you find a better one.
That's what I'm saying. Or you know what? And I guess because I'm playing Monster Hunter, if you have to let me do something, then just force me to sharpen it every once in a while. I don't want to build a fucking weapon, please. It's so annoying,
Well,
Or
I
you
can
go
understand,
to Garmin's fixie thing, like, hey,
Yeah.
have just have low tier weapons be the only ones that break. Like, low tier weapons break and are completely dead. Mid tier weapons break and need repaired, and high tier weapons just need sharpened. Boom, there you go.
Like the low tier would be like the shit that you grab from the little the goblins that are walking around.
Yeah, like the wooden spears and shit. And then, like, the claymores that you find around, like, yeah, they may crack and you take them into a blacksmith, pay some rupees when you're in town, boom, it's fixed. But then, like, the master sword, the legendary ones, like, you should just be able to fucking sharpen them or something like that. They should all have just, like a 1 minute cooldown.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that you can use your magic powers faster than it takes your master sword to regenerate.
So stupid. Here's one from the comments. Kristen says, please give us clothes to be able to climb in the rain in new game. Yes, man. How many times has this happened? You're climbing up a really long ass mountain, big ass mountain. You're almost at the top. It starts raining. That's it. Your ass drops right down. I was like, come on, son. Bullshit.
I always find a little ledge and just cling to the side through the rain. It's the saddest looking thing ever.
Yeah. Or how about something crazy? What Assassin's Creed Origins did. How about if it rains, it doesn't fucking matter? How about that? Please. Yeah. So stupid. It's a video game. It's supposed to be fun. Stop with the nonsense. Also, I'm gonna jump.
I didn't mind the rain.
I did because I hated that shit.
I would have liked the rain better if you had the ability, like the old Skyrim or the old Elder Scrolls games, where you could just wait at any given point. So, like, you should just be able to pop a squat and, like, fast wait and make 2-3 hours go by, so you can just wait out a rainstorm instead of just having to sit there through a rainstorm.
And all the rainstorms are all lightning storms, so there is a chance of you getting electrocuted.
Yeah. I would much rather just find a hole, press a button, say wait 3 hours, have it fade to black, fade back out to from black, and it's sunlight. then that's fine. I have no problem with like having, because I don't want to take away from the dynamic idea of like, oh, there's this big snowstorm blowing and I should probably take shelter, or it's going to get colder, I should chop some wood and find myself a little cave and build a fire. Like that's a cool mechanic and that can be immersive. But then don't make
can't Link just make his own little hut somewhere? Like, ooh, yay! Okay, I'll wait this out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, have yourself a little pup tent in like your bag, and so it just like pops like a builds himself a little fire, and then pops up like a little overhang, and just sits there and like waits a couple hours. I did not like having to manually wait out lightning storms. You don't. Yeah, and you give me a special piece of gear that lets me climb in that shit. Boom, done, sold, over, cool. You don't even need to change the mechanics of the fucking game. Just give me frog climb gear.
Yeah, my main thing is, and Brett, you're gonna get angry at me over this one. I want it so when you go to a tower, it shows you everything that's around that fucking tower. I hate it having to go to YouTube to look at this shit. Just play a different
fucking game.
It's like, come on, man.
Just go play Assassin's Creed.
Or how about this?
Don't change Zelda.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Go play Assassin's Creed.
Okay, how about this? Make it like the other Zeldas instead of this open world nonsense. How about that? I want a Zelda game like Ocarina of Time, man. I just do whatever's in that little section of map. Take me to another little map.
Ocarina of Time was before they gave you quest icons that told you exactly where you needed to fucking go. You actually had to read the dialogue and go where they told you.
Actually, the Ocarina of Time I played on 3DS told you exactly where to go, which I appreciated. Yes. So yeah, it's like, come on, if you're gonna have towers, at least show me the shit that's around it, so I could just go to it without going to YouTube. That's annoying. That crafting shit is bullshit. Get rid of that. It's like, if I have to buy like a special suit for winter, let me just buy it. I don't have to make it. That's frustrating. The weapon fragility, get rid of that altogether, that's annoying. And yeah, other than that, just that's fine. I could live. Actually, no, put more shit in the world, too. I hate it how you just walk around forever and there's nothing there. It's like, put some shit in there, too,
I would say, like, the thing to keep is, like, the other races' designs are great. I'd say don't change those. Like, I like the designs of all the creatures and everything. But, yeah, like Tony said, add some more stuff. There's some enemies that didn't come back in this Zelda, even though it's supposed to be this, like, cross-dimensional timeline and all the, like, they didn't. There's enemies like Wizrobes came back, but certain things from the original Legend of Zelda did not come back. So I think it'd be interesting if they had a full roster of monsters from like every single one.
I'm more in agreement with Chris.
Yeah, but Brett, why are you telling me to play a different game? I'm asking this what I want for the next game. Understand?
Because you are doing the same shit that makes me so mad when fake nerds do it to comic books. They move in. They like about 25 to 40% of something, and then they come in and they say they want you to change 60% of it. The things you were talking about, if they made all those changes, it wouldn't be a Zelda game anymore. It'd be half Assassin's Creed. And it's one of those like, dude, don't.
But all that stuff I listed, but all that shit I listed wasn't in a Zelda game to begin with.
There was never, like, it was always about as open and desolate as it was. There was one city or one main town in just about every Zelda game. In this one, there's several. So you talk about putting more content and less space in there. You're talking about having full cities, a la almost Assassin's Creed kind of thing. Like,
okay, roll it back to Ocarina of Time. That's what I want then. That's still a Zelda game, so it's that bad too. Roll it back to. I think a lot of people would have preferred.
Ocarina of Time was like a tenth of the size of this game,
and that's perfectly fine. I had no problem with that. I would have rather played that than this. I enjoyed that more.
I think they said basically the starting plateau was about the size of the entire world in Ocarina of Time, or some shit like that.
Oh, the Great Plateau, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
Ocarina of Time was
just because it's bigger doesn't mean it's better. You understand? Just got to throw that out there. What's going on, Riku, in the chat room right now?
I don't think
Hashling. By the way, Hashling, and how do I want an easy Zelda? I want Ocarina of Time. That was not an easy game. Come on now.
Yeah, I don't think the map size was the issue. As a matter of fact, I like this map because it somehow incorporated things from like the Divergent Zelda timelines in each thing, which was confusing until I watched videos and they were explaining how this was like a converged timeline. But like, I would like to see like the River Zora come back. So there's another race of Zora. In original Zelda, remember the Zora that would pop out and shoot fireballs at you from the water?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those would come back, and the Octoroks were actually walking around on land. Now they're the ones hiding in the water, and so there'd be more things to do. I think putting temples back in as well as the shrines would be a good idea. But these are all like things that we'd like to see. But what I think going back to the question, like what to keep the map. The map is good. Don't reinvent the wheel and start a whole new map and then Hyrule is like completely changed. Like work from here and go forward. Like since this is like in the super future. Let's see what else. As the
Can we
weapon
keep
section
the the vague mini map though? Like I feel like from my very first experience from the very first Zelda, part of the idea was you have to figure out where to go. It's not pointed out directly to you. I
Yeah,
feel like
but
that's a
a
core element
compass
of
would
the
have been
Zelda
more
experience.
helpful than this. The Sheikah sensor is worthless. They should
No,
have just brought,
it is. A compass would have been great. All I'm saying is don't give me an arrow that points me directly to the next dungeon. If you do that, ruins Zelda.
yeah, it doesn't need to be an arrow, but man, a compass would have been way better than that fucking sensor. It's worthless.
Yeah, by the way, the 3DS version showed you where the dungeons were. Just had to throw that out there, and that's a Zelda game. Just had to throw that out there. I never
Yeah,
got
and
lost
that
in
was
that.
a travesty that they did that.
How is that as travesty? It's nice and convenient, man. That way you don't have to like just traipse around and go to YouTube or whatever. You know, I appreciated that.
You guys mentioned a lot of stuff that I would change, especially the weapon fragility. That kind of killed the game for me. The thing that I would do on top of what you guys mentioned is I want this game to look better. I didn't think this game looked that good. It looked decent in portable mode. But when I put that on my TV, it just looked washed out. And I don't know if that's a stylistic thing. On my TV, son? With motion blur?
Yo, Carlos, when did you play the game, man? Did you play it when it came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could explain to you why you felt that way, because I felt the same way too. What game were you playing right before that, bro? You were playing Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
That's why that game looked like booty compared to it, you know?
Yeah, so it's... I don't know if it... So one thing, this was a Wii U port, so maybe that was one of the main reasons. But hopefully it's nothing that the hardware is limiting it to look even better.
So
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Gravity Rush.
Let me ask you a question, Carlos. Did you have a problem with the graphics or the art style? Because they're very different. Like me, I had a problem with the graphics. I liked the art style.
The art style is fine. I don't know. The grass just looked so bad.
Yeah,
like that's the main thing. Like I was like walking around. I'm like, oh, this looks kind of, and it kind of threw me off during the game. It's not amazing.
Right on PlayStation.
Yeah, but I think like the next game they could do better because this was a port after all. Like this was decided to be put on from the Wii U to. So if they make something exclusively for the Switch and take advantage of the Tegra hardware, maybe they could do better.
Yeah,
it'll run better on the new iteration of the Switch. We know it's coming. You know, Switch XL or whatever.
The new Nintendo Switch.
The new Nintendo Switch.
Don't make it more confusing, right?
Super Switch.
Super Switch. Yeah. Anybody else? Because there's only a couple of us that played this game here. I think that
I would like to make the next Zelda game on a console that I actually have. I want it to be on my PlayStation 4.
You know, I want that too, but
This is anti-consumer.
Here's the thing I was thinking, Manny. You know how we basically all agreed that Dark Souls was the natural evolution of what we expected a next-gen version of Castlevania to be?
Yeah.
There's nothing really stopping anybody from doing a Zelda-like game.
Zelda Souls.
What do you mean, man? We played 3D Die Game Heroes. 3D
Well, even like the Darksiders game, like Darksiders was a Zelda clone. It was wrapped up in a lot of really cool God of War kind of skin, but it was a Zelda clone through and through. The way that it was built, the way that you explored the area, the way that you unlock tools to go to different areas. It was even the developer described it as a love letter to Zelda.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a game like that, to be honest. You know, and Brett, 3D Die Game Heroes was an excellent Zelda game.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
It was a very self-aware Zelda game.
Yes. All right. Let's move on. Next, second question. Okay, what do you think of the rumor about Fable coming back?
Which Fable?
Fable the series. There's going to be Fable 4 apparently.
No. I know. But like the original direction the series was going, or the bastardized weird multiplayer game that they wanted to make.
Neither,
Just a
neither,
franchise.
man. It's not going to be that what is whatever that Fable Legends or what was it called? The one they were making. That yeah, that's not going to be there, and obviously Lionhead's not around anymore. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be just something.
You don't need
completely new.
Lionhead to make the original Fable game. Like
You just
Lionhead.
You just need
Where's
a good developer
Peter
on there.
Molyneux?
Yeah, you don't need Peter
it's-
Molyneux.
They're not going to have the same direction from the legendary director Peter Molyneux. I'm just saying.
You know what? I
You
think
know
that's
what?
a good thing, because as you got towards Fable 3, all the good things about Fable started dying out. Like they started making it about more nuanced reactions by the world, but they weren't far-reaching. Like in the first game, and that I liked the duality. Who in the first game really didn't like doing really evil shit so they could go really dark and fucked up, and then redeeming themselves by like just severing goblin heads? So you'd like sever a bunch of goblin heads, and the Tatsu would be like, "Yay, we love you!" and then you punch a toddler in the face.
You
like
just changing colors drastically every time you do something.
Yeah, like that was the fun of the game. And granted, they opened up a lot of cool multiplayer things in 2 and 3, and made it easier to connect. But that's just kind of how a lot of drop in, drop out cooperative gameplay is. And the idea of, oh, I have this immersive world that I can change, and then I can have a friend drop their custom character in and out, and maybe 2 or 3 friends. Like, yeah, that's not fucking new anymore. All you really have to do is take that same idea, blend the idea of duality or dark and evil back into it, do some BioWare type consequency kind of thing. So if you do this, the town does this. If you do this, your character does this. Boom, you've got yourself the Fable series. The successful thing from those games has been repeated enough that you could have somebody else besides Peter Molyneux make a good Fable game.
I would like to see them with the new Fable game allow you to plant an acorn in the ground and watch it grow. That's what I want to see.
Glorious tree.
I want them to. The next Fable game is going to be so awesome if they essentially do all the things that Peter Molyneux promised from the previous Fable games.
That would. I just want them to see, like, you specifically plant a tree, and then 10 years later you come back and it's a giant tree. Like, even if it's just a flash forward, that would be the greatest Easter egg ever.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Like, you just like, oh, there we go. I planted a tree in the middle of my house, and now there's a tree in my house. Perfect.
I mean, I like the idea of bringing back Fable because I mean, honestly, Microsoft can use all the notable franchises they could have, man. Because I mean, once you cycle through all the main ones, it's like, what else do we have to look forward to?
Fusion Frenzy.
Fusion Frenzy. I would like, I mean, going back to, seriously though, I would love to see them do Fable. Maybe they'll just call it Fable, just start it from square one again, and do all the wonderful things that we wanted them to do. Hopefully, the new version of it doesn't lose its kind of sense of humor that it had.
Well,
it was pretty Britishy sense of humor too.
Yeah, so it had Britishy sense of
writers.
Humor. No. You know what it is? Maybe that's what'll happen. They won't make it a British humor next time. It'll be like American humor. Like, yeah.
I think that'd be one of the easiest games to remake. Just because of the way technology has come forward, that a lot of the things they were really trying to do, they could do now. I guess like it seemed like such a basic game, and yeah, it had a certain charm to it, but that charm kind of wore off a little bit, and it's been long enough that I feel like that could be a game that could be really easily remade without a lot of people blinking an eye.
Yeah, I think they can reimagine it and redo it. I wouldn't be angry about that sort of thing.
Yep.
I'm on board. I think they really need to do this. I'd buy an Xbox for that shit.
Yeah, I have no comment. I never played a Fable game. Not really interested, and I also don't want to comment on a rumor. So that's my
God
take
damn,
on
you
it.
never played Fable, Tony? You would have
I,
actually loved Fable.
Brett, you know I didn't get an Xbox until Xbox One 2 years ago, bro. Come on now.
Yeah, I guess that's true. No,
I've
it's
never,
too,
I've never played Fable before, but I've had an interest. And
Manny, I can see you kind of liking it. Tony, the reason I say that Tony would like it is because Tony had lets you do all those asshole things that you want to do. Like if you come across somebody, it's like, help, I've fallen, and I need help getting this money to this town. The bank is depending on me. And Tony would be like, go fuck yourself, smash him and crush his skull and take his money back. Like the game totally lets you do that, and then it does you be like, and now you're a little bit more evil because of it. You'd be like, I don't fucking care.
I don't know.
You have a very interesting view of me. I don't
would
do
not
that in
do
games.
that,
I wouldn't do that
actually.
in a game. Nope. I'm a goody two shoes when it comes to these games, man. I play on the side of the angels. I did that in Fallout.
And
did that in
that's-
Mass Effect. I don't fuck around with games,
But
man.
yeah,
You
like
know?
the only thing is that also Tony, whenever Tony does play those sorts of games, if the main character has a specific personality, he tries to play within that personality.
Yeah, I
or
always
But
do that.
you don't
Yeah.
have a
So-
personality. You're neutral.
Yeah, but
That's also one reason why Tony would not like that game that much.
well,
Because you were
yeah,
kind of neutral.
yeah, that is true.
But
That's
he
why.
likes
Yeah.
BioWare so much. He likes Mass Effect so much.
Yeah, Shepard has a personality though. That's why I like the game.
He does both shepherds have a direct personality.
Really? Because
You could be a good guy or bad guy instead of doing some fucking shit.
It's
Good
the
Good
same.
guy
it's
or
a-
bad guy, but
yeah.
you're still a good guy.
Yeah,
you're
you're
not
still a good
really
guy.
a bad guy in,
Yeah.
in Mass Effect.
Yeah, it's like you're a good cop, bad cop. You're still a cop. You know, you're still a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I mean, you're still
yeah.
technically a hero, even if you're a bad hero.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're still a hero at the end of the day. So all that stuff. Doesn't
Yeah, well,
really
that's what
count.
Fable is. You could be an evil hero.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. I don't have the time for it anymore. What I would do is, like, I'm thinking about myself back in the day. I would have two playthroughs: one when I'm evil, one when I'm good. Because I don't like mixing and matching. I need to be one thing specifically when I do a playthrough. You know what I mean?
No, I
got to commit to
tried
the.
that
I got to
with-
commit to the bit. Go ahead, Chris. What are you gonna say?
With Infamous, I tried that and I couldn't do it. I couldn't like screw people over. I felt horrible. Like, I just played it, you know.
Yeah,
with a
yeah,
good
that's right. You
tone,
did
like,
feel bad even when you like accidentally kill someone. You feel bad. It's like fuck.
Yeah.
You know.
Am I the only person who plays these games just like I make the choice that I feel like making and then see what the game rates you as?
Yeah, I think so because I play the game. I play it like I'm like, okay, that person acts that way. I am gonna. I try to be the character the game is telling me to be. Like when I was playing Grand Theft Auto 4, I didn't go around doing crazy shit because Nico wouldn't do shit like that. You know. I find it more fun to be the character than just do whatever the fuck I want. You know.
In Mass Effect, I decided I wanted to be a Paragon the whole time. So every time I saw the dialogue with the Paragon color in it, I'm like, okay, I guess that's the one.
That's it. That's yep.
See, I decided I was like, I'm gonna be a paragon. I'm gonna be a good guy, and then somebody would say something to me, you know, sideways, and I'd be like, "What the fuck did you just say to me?" And like, eventually, I just kind of backslid into renegade until I was like, apparently, I'm an asshole.
Well, there's a couple times I did that too. Like in Mass Effect 2, I think there was one motherfucker was sassing me in a building. I just shot him out the window. I was like, ah, fuck this.
You know, the thing about it though is that that was my one complaint with the Mass Effect games is that there was always a direct, you know, good path or evil path where you couldn't make this. You couldn't be like, you know what, you pissed me. You know, I'm being a good guy. I'm being charitable at this point. I'm gonna teach you a fucking lesson for doubting me.
That was
And
because
because there's always one direct route. Like you can't be like a middle of the road sort of guy where it's like,
well, no,
okay,
they're balanced. They're ill balanced. Like in Mass Effect, they're like, okay, would you like to save this woman or shoot this baby in the face? You're like,
neither.
Yeah.
the woman, I guess. In Fable, the good thing about it was, do you want to shoot this baby in the face and take its legendary crown that gives you a massive strength boost, or do you want to help the mother get this baby back to town? So the straight route to the most efficient and powerful way the direct route is through whatever obstacle is in your way. So, and that's why I said I thought the Toad would be evil, because in Fable specifically, the most efficient way of doing things is the evil way.
Yeah, no,
So the
I don't.
question
I
is,
don't
do you
like
wanna
being.
be-
Yeah, I don't like being evil in games. I want to be the good guy in games. I'm playing. I want to be the hero. You know. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let that baby live because in 20 years he's probably gonna give me that fucking crown. You know.
Unless it's a situation where you're specifically playing the bad guy.
Yes, then I'm gonna be as
Well,
evil as possible. Again, I want to commit to the bit.
This is why
you
they
know?
need to make Fable, Tony, because in Fable, no, in 20 years, you don't get the crown. You don't get anything for being good, except for the knowledge that you did good.
Oh, okay.
And the renown of the people. They'll like you more, but no, you will not get that crown. If you turn that story item in, it's not yours anymore.
Yeah, I always turn in those things. But yeah, I agree with you. I would have liked Fable. It's just I didn't have an Xbox back then, and if they release it now, kind of little too late. You know.
Fable had a weight mechanic too, like San Andreas. The more you wait, the fatter you get.
Yes, I like that. That's funny.
And you get slow too.
Hey,
you,
how you
get
doing?
bulky, or like you could get strong by swinging around heavy weapons, or you could like make a thin, lean character that was fast and agile, like depending on what you ate. Like you could carbo load, like power load a bunch of food, and then instead of as you got fat, instead you worked out, like you swung around a heavy weapon. Your character would get fucking stacked, but you'd move slower.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's move on here.
Damn it! I want Fable now.
Okay, Mr. Joel Torres, man. So his first question is, what were your thoughts when Capcom decided to make 5 games exclusive to the GameCube? He's talking about the Capcom 5. These games were PN3, Beautiful Joe, Dead Phoenix, Resident Evil 4, and Killer 7. Dead Phoenix, I believe, never came out at all. PN3 only in Japan, and then obviously Beautiful Joe, Resident Evil, and Killer 7 did come out. The thing is, back when this started, I didn't know that was a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they didn't advertise it as a thing.
Yeah.
You just saw it on there, and you asked the question, "Huh? Why aren't these coming out yet?"
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, because I remember like the big deal was like, oh, Resident Evil 4 is on GameCube exclusive. Like, why the hell would they do that? Like, put that shit on PlayStation, you know? And Beautiful Joe, I didn't even know or remember that was exclusive.
Yeah, Beautiful Joe was an exclusive.
And Killer 7, I knew about it, but I wasn't interested in it, you know?
But you know what? You made you changed Capcom's mind, right?
Because nobody bought the shit.
Yeah, nobody. People on the GameCube really didn't jump to these things. They thought, oh, okay, these were we're going to be the things that get people to come over, but officially they didn't.
I enjoyed them.
You know why? Because Manny, I don't know if I'm speaking for you. For me, I'm like, those games are coming in eventually, so I'll just wait. And about a year later, there came Resident Evil.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I figured like, okay, so they could be probably just doing this for now, but they'll eventually come out here. And plus, to be honest, you had to have been a nut job to not fucking put something on the PlayStation 4. I mean, PlayStation 2.
PlayStation 2, yeah, exactly. Seriously. Yeah, and there was no way in fuck I was buying a GameCube, so I just waited, you know?
Why?
Because it's a fucking Nintendo was the big bullshit company of the time. I hated Nintendo back then. I was not buying any other products back then, so that was the main reason. I'm like, I'm not supporting Nintendo. Fuck them, you know? So that was the main one. And obviously I'm like, I'm not gonna buy a system for one game, you know? So
yeah, that was the other thing. That's part of the reason why I didn't go for the GameCube. Where it was like, okay, so there's at least 2 games that I want to play on here, and then the rest I'm not really feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't feeling Mario Sunshine. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, GameCube was a pretty bullshit console to us back then, you know?
Ah, you're a pony.
And
I wasn't a pony guy back then, though.
But here's a better thing. So okay, you know that obviously the Wii was essentially a hopped up GameCube. So I could literally play all those GameCube games that I skipped on before on the Nintendo Wii.
Yeah, but you didn't know that at the time.
No, I didn't know at the time, but it was another reason for me to buy the Wii over buying a GameCube.
Yo, man, Double Dash was the shit.
But see, like, I guess I'm the only one. I had a GameCube. Like, I bought a launch GameCube.
Me too.
And so, like,
I still have it.
Awesome. So you know what I'm talking about. I was really excited when these games came out. Like, I enjoyed the shit out of Beautiful Joe and Resident Evil long before everybody else did. And answer your question, what were our thoughts when it happened? Dude, this was a time when all 3 companies had mass amounts of exclusives. Exclusives were kind of a thing, so nobody really blinked at it, I don't think.
Yo,
No,
man,
but
GameCube.
exclusives came from the system maker, like Sega games were
Not
on
with
Sega consoles.
Yeah, but not with Sony. Sony changed that shit.
Well, yeah, Sony was changing that shit, which is but the thing to me was I don't know why Capcom made that decision in the first place, considering Sony already had the market share, right? So Nintendo must have offered them a good amount of money to
Well, yeah,
make that initial
yeah,
exclusive.
yeah, but that's all business as usual. They were trying to compete with Sony. Like when Sony first came out, it was kind of like Image Comics. They were one of the first companies to not make a lot of their own games. They just kind of took in all kinds of wayward developers, and because of that, their library ended up fucking huge. And there was a lot of trash in there, but there was a lot of gems in there too, which gave Sony a lot of sway over the market. And both the other console makers responded by trying to rope in more third-party developers instead of relying as much on in-house development. That was just the way that the industry was shifting at the time. And maybe I just know this and treat it like it's not a big deal because I was working at a GameCo at the time.
By the way, the GameCube has the definitive Smash Brothers game.
It does.
With the definitive controllers too.
Dude, the GameCube was a solid machine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I dropped that thing down several flights of stairs and it never stopped working. It had a handle you could just throw in your backpack. It had four controllers so you could, get drunk and play games with your friends.
The family console.
It was a family console, yeah, but it was also a great party console. If you were between high school and college age, somewhere in that 8 years, that thing was the shit. Because yeah, it was small. You could just throw it in your backpack. Like taking your PlayStation over, like it was a big deal, and you had to pack it like a fucking suitcase. The GameCube literally had a handle. You just threw it in your backpack. Off you went. Wasn't even that big. Yeah, everybody thought it was stupid when it came out. Like, why do they have mini discs? You can't hold enough data on these mini fucking discs. But other than that, it was cool.
Yeah, I remember that because the system looked like a cheap toy, and also that controller was like, nope, fuck that shit.
Dude, you say it looked like a cheap toy. Like you could beat a hobo to death with that thing. It was by far.
Yeah. I remember
the best made of all the consoles.
That's a fact. They actually did that test on XPlay. They beat the shit out of a PlayStation 2, Xbox, and a GameCube. GameCube was still functional.
They threw it off a roof.
They threw it off a roof. They threw fucking anvil on it. They didn't went ham,
But the thing is that all they were really they weren't testing that it could play games. They were just testing that it could actually turn on after they did all that stuff.
That is true. Yeah, just to turn on. PlayStation, after one whack, that shit was done.
Yeah.
No, I think Xbox died first. Xbox one whack and
really?
it died.
Xbox
the
One.
PlayStation died the second test. The Xbox was the first to go. As soon as I think they threw it off a roof. That was it.
Damn, that big ass heavy box died first. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can find it on YouTube. The video of that.
Yeah, right. Okay, so yeah, again, back then we didn't know that was a thing. I learned about that years later. I'm like, okay, I didn't know it was the Capcom 5. Very interesting. Okay, next question. What is your guys' opinion on people who have a hatred of cinematic games like Uncharted, Metal Gear, and The Last of Us, and would rather games be like arcade or Nintendo games, where it was just
people?
Yeah, so it was just
hello.
Yeah, Brian.
I'm still here.
What?
Yeah,
Brian, go.
First of all, what the fuck is up with cinematic games? Like, what does that term actually mean? Because no one has seemed to actually define it. They just mean like, hey, it's a cinematic game. So,
Brian, I can help you here. It's a game where you play 60% of the actual game, the other 40% is played for you.
No, so it's a game with cutscenes then? Like, I'm still trying to understand what makes a game
lack of choice.
Cinematic.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, so a cinematic is something you go watch, right? So it's a cutscene. Like, games have had cutscenes.
They're referring more to the idea of cinematic and stage in sense of stage setup. So when you come across an area, for instance, where you see a lot of open cover, they're going to do a kind of cinematic style moment where it's very heavily scripted. This A happens and then B happens and then this thing explodes and you have to dodge under this thing before this falls. It just means set up and scripted. They mean it in the sense of not like a cinematic, but following the rules of cinematography.
So lots of scripted sequences then.
Yes.
So
Metal Gear 3
no,
that
wait.
was on
When he wants
PlayStation
to
3.
ask people like, hey, why are there people out there who like playing a game that has less gameplay? Good question, sir. Good question. Why would people want to play a game that has less gameplay than another game? I mean, I don't know. I don't know why.
we
It's
we
weird
could ask a
question.
couple people in this room, Brian.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Okay. To answer this guy's question, what do I think of them? That's on them. It seems to me like, okay, so you don't like stories. That's what you're telling me. You don't like movies.
No.
Like that's
We
kind of
like
weird.
stories,
Let
we
me
like
answer
movies.
let me answer the
We
question.
just don't like less gameplay in games. Like shit.
But
Like
see,
cool
the thing is,
and all that, like,
gameplay is a
something cool
subjective.
happens,
It's a
but
Hold on, let me get
subjective
some
thing,
popcorn.
though. It's a subjective thing, though, don't you think? Like if
No.
even if I'm watching a cinema, it's still part of the game. Understand? You're still being immersed in it. It's all about immersion in it. That's why I typically don't like games that are just arcade. I'm like multiplayer games. Perfect example. I'm like, what is the narrative like thrust here? What is the story behind this? Why am I doing this? If I don't have that, it takes me out of the thing. I was having this conversation with Riku last night. He asked me, Tony, would you consider Monster Hunter Game of the Year? And I said no, because I wouldn't consider any game that's heavily multiplayer a candidate for Game of the Year just because of that. Even though it's just pure gameplay, I'm like, you need to have cinematics, you need to have immersion, you need to have a story, you need to have characters that you could actually like root for and shit like that. That's me though. That's the shit I want. But I don't really shit on people who don't want that, because I understand that people just want to, they just want no frills gameplay. Just give me game. I don't care about story. I don't give a fuck about any of that. Turn my brain off. I just want to go out there and kill shit. I understand that.
Okay. Let me bring this up, and I'll use Adam as a perfect example because he's played it. So, Adam, have you played the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2? No, Modern Warfare 2, the World War II campaign.
Yep.
Okay. What's the first thing that you do when you land on the beach?
You play the game. You start running. You have to get to the beach.
Yep.
A lot of shooting.
And then what's the first thing that happens? Right. You start off as a cinematic, right? You get thrown off the boat.
That's a little cinematic.
And then you run maybe for 10 seconds, and then another cinematic, right?
But that's a short one. That's just him panicking.
And then after that, there's another cinematic after that, probably 30 seconds afterwards.
I don't remember that.
To some people, this is not immersion. This is immersion breaking. Immersion is when you are in the world, you feel like you are part of the world.
That's your definition of that's your definition.
No,
to me, anything that brings me into the game is immersion.
Immersed in a liquid, you are surrounded in it.
Yes, and that brings you into it.
I don't think that does. That takes me out
to
of
you,
it,
Brian. Again, this is all opinions. That's to you, man. And I find this funny that I'm like, I don't have a problem with you feeling that way, but you seem to have a problem with me feeling that way. Very interesting.
You can feel that way all you want, but just let me know that this is what we define as immersion breaking. Okay, let's take Need for Speed Payback for example, right? It's all well and cool, like driving around doing all the crazy stunts, but when the game takes control away from you to show you, hey, you quote unquote jumped up the ramp. It's I didn't really jump up the ramp. The game just did it itself. I didn't do anything. That's immersion breaking. Because if I want to feel immersed, then I want to be the one that lines up the jump. I want to be the one that gets enough speed to run up the ramp and jump over the thing. Whereas in Need for Speed, it's hey, you know what? No, we'll just show you that in a cinematic, and then boom, there we go. It's when you're taking out the cops. There's some scenes where stuff is being done automatically. It's that's immersion breaking. It feels like I'm watching a film. I want to be the one that takes out that cop. I want to be the one that does there's drift into that cop and takes them out. I want to be the one that drives the truck and wipes out that roadblock. To me, that is immersive.
Yeah, but the thing is, how about this, Brian? What if you fuck up the jump? Then you broke the immersion there because you fucked up that cinematic moment, right? You got to see it that way
I can
too.
still go back and replay it. I want to be the one that takes the action that results in the consequence.
Yeah, and that's fine. And that's fine.
Something else.
I feel like the only time it breaks for me if the quality isn't the same. If it's a cutscene where it's oh man, it's 1080p, this is awesome, and then the game looks like crap. Then it's all right, now I'm out of it because now I want to go back into that cutscene. Can I play through that cutscene?
Yeah, graphical glitches, that breaks immersion. shitty AI breaks immersion, but like cinematic things, they enhance it for me. You know, even back in the day, like when you got a cinema, you like that's your bonus for playing the game. You know, you play the game for X amount of hours, you get a cinema. That's your reward. You know, so I always enjoy those little things. They do it better nowadays. Obviously, I like that stuff. It brings me into the story because again, I'm playing these games to be immersed in a story. You know, so anything that takes me out of that story kind of fucks it up, you know. So I don't mind I don't mind when they like kind of take the control away from me. As long as it's still a cool moment, then that's fine, you know.
I think that's the difference between you and me. Like, you play the game to be immersed in the story. I play the game to be immersed in the world.
Exactly. There you go. You want to be immersed in the actual gameplay of it. You don't want that gameplay to be taken away from you. If they take it away from you, you're pulled out of it. I understand that, but we're playing.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Reasons. Yeah.
Tony, when you play a game, are you playing you or are you playing that character?
I'm playing that character.
And everything that comes with that character, right? Their set of morals, their ideas, the lens in which they see the world, right?
Yeah, for the most part. Obviously, different games are different, but for the most part, yes. Like we talked about before with the Mass Effect and stuff, I'm not playing me. I'm playing Shepard. I'm trying to be the best Shepard I could be, you know?
Brian, when you play a game, are you playing that character or are you playing an extension of yourself through that character?
Extension of myself. Like for example, take Just Cause. Like, what would I do if I had a grappling hook? I would just grapple to the top of every building. Why? Because I can.
I think that right there is the difference. Tony has to follow a narrative. He has to be put in somebody else's shoes. So when they take the control away from him, he doesn't feel like it's a jarring experience because he's not the person on the screen. He's just controlling that person on the screen. People like you and me, when we play a game, the person on the screen is kind of an extension of us. So it's jarring when they take the control away from us because it's the equivalent of suddenly being thrown into a blackout. Like you're like, I have no control over what I'm doing. And the key there is I have no control over what I'm doing. Because they're an extension of you and me, it feels like suddenly you're not controlling you. And that's a very weird, unimmersive experience. But I don't think Tony ever makes that connection where he's that person.
No, Brett. By the way, Manny, before you go on, you hit it on the head. That's exactly what it is. I never thought about it that way, or even thought about it. Period. But yeah, it's like I'm not playing me. I'm playing as that person. I'm trying to be that specific person. Not to segue too much. When I play like Telltale games, for example, right? When they give you a choice, it's always like, what would be the best choice here? When I was playing the Batman one, it was easy. I'm like, what would Batman say in this situation? It was very easy, you know? Anyway, Manny, go ahead.
Yeah, I never really think of the character on the screen as actually me. I think of the character as the character. We're two different separate entities, united through this controller, and that's pretty much how I think of it. So when it comes to narrative games, I am there. I almost see it like in a way is like an interactive version of entertainment that you would go to the movies or reading a book. So you're not Sam Spade inside of the book. Right, and you have no control over the final outcome of what Sam Spade does, but you are on the journey with Sam Spade as he, goes and tries to figure out the different clues and stuff like that. So that's the way I see the narrative games. As far as gameplay, and I don't see any of the cinematics as a hindrance because these are part of the journey that you're going on with this character. Whereas, as in the gameplay sorts of games, I would say that is more. You are somewhat the character that you play on the screen. So that way, I am able to kind of make that sort of distinction.
See, when I play Mass Effect, Shepard's just a skin I step into.
No, so Shepard, because the thing is that here's the thing, the immersive breaking part of that. If I am Shepard on that screen, I don't want to fucking fight the Reapers. I want to go to the fucking treasure planet and I want to go to fucking what was the planet on Star Trek: The Next Generation? Risa.
Yeah.
I want to go to Risa and wait that shit out. See, exactly.
I see. And
officially
a true non-cinematic game would let you do that, though. Like a true open world sandbox
well, because
game
there is
would
no,
allow
the
you
thing
to
is
do
that
that.
there is no officially if a game has an ending, there is always an eventual end game to most games that are out there, with the exception of those kind of open worldy type of games where you're just kind of in the void.
I think you guys are deviating completely from what the initial debate was. Like, I kind of agree with both of you, Tony and Brian. Like, the most efficient way to use cutscenes is for exposition to the narrative of the story. But I agree with Brian that sometimes cutscenes have scenes where you kill the final boss, or you do the final drift on a stage, or sometimes they use QuickTime events in God of War. It's like sometimes it's less immersive when you spend 30 minutes or 10 minutes or 5 minutes fighting a boss, right? And you're like, okay, I'm fucking this guy up, and then you kill him in a cutscene. It's like, what? Why? Like, why are we supposed to end things via cutscene like that? I agree completely with Brian with that. Or like even stuff like Uncharted. Like sometimes you'd have parts where you like parkour over shit in a cutscene where like you can easily do this in the game. So
yeah, I mean, you in a lot of ways, sometimes cutscenes are crutches where they can't get these certain things to work. So it's like, okay, so we can't figure out how to get this to work, so we'll throw a cutscene on there. It's the best example of something like that is like from Metal Gear Solid 2, where you're trying to, escape the tanker. At some point, you had to after the end of the tanker chapter, you were supposed to run through the whole tanker and then leap out, but they couldn't get it to work, so they put it into a cinematic. So I feel like they serve to, like, cinematics in general, narrative things. I always feel like they're, I agree with Tony where they are the reward, but I also do feel like sometimes those sorts of cinematics can break the immersion, as far as Dante in Devil May Cry,
Yeah,
where you're spending like 10 hours trying to beat the shit out of this one fucking little goon monster, but yet in the cinematic he just blows him away in 2 seconds.
Yeah, that annoys the shit out of me. I'm like, listen, why can't I be as cool as Dante in that cinema? It's like, yeah, that breaks the immersion for me. That game didn't have, the cinemas look good, but they didn't fit with the actual game. Also, I just want to add in something. Sometimes cinematics are there because, like, every game has this. Every character is limited mechanically in some way. So in cinemas, they can do things they can't do in the actual game. You know what I mean? So that helps that in that respect. But yeah, Devil May Cry, great example. I'm like, why can't he do all this shit in the cinema and not in the fucking game? Anyway, go ahead. Whoever the fuck I cut off. Maybe I didn't cut anybody off. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. There's pros and cons for each side of it, but I do feel like that there should be a bit of is like, like, in other words, it just becomes like an opinion sort of thing. Like, why do you like this sort of stuff?
It's all opinions. Although
I like that sort of stuff. I mean,
it's as simple as that. There's no wrong answer here, really.
No.
It's me and my pussy plats. I like it. It's just a number, right?
Well, here's the thing that goes with pussy plats is the fact that you have to deal with everybody else's ridicule. There's a consequence to doing that sort of stuff.
It's only you guys. Nobody else says shit. Nobody on my timeline.
They're fake gamers. That's why, man.
They're like, oh wow, I like that.
Well, now they have the ability to hide pussy platinum, so you're good to go.
Yeah, that is true. Hide your shame, Adam. Hide your shame.
Not shame. No shame.
He's like, my name is Mayo. It was the best 10 minutes I've ever played.
Yo, that's why I give Adam props. He doesn't give a fuck.
That as my pride. If there was a way that if like rank the ones your best ones, I want to put that one as number one.
Go ahead, Britt.
I love it.
In response to the original question, the reason people hate on games other than the games they like, which seems to be the meat of the question, like, if somebody likes cinematic games, how do they hate on other games, or vice versa? The reason is because they really like one type of game. Certain people out there really like cinematic games, or certain people out there really like gameplay oriented games. And the problem becomes, for instance, if you tried to say Dark Souls needs more narrative, I'll come through the internet and slap you in the mouth. I like all the digging and the hunting for that kind of stuff. So if you say you want a more overarching, clear narrative, I firmly disagree, and I'm going to get defensive because you're talking about changing one of the core aspects of the game I like. And while that may not be rational, while that may not be rational, it is that jump to fear that everybody has that like, they're going to come in and ruin my game. Like, no, they're not. Just calm down. You can actually get upset if they try and add a narrative to it. But for the most part, I think people are just overreacting in the sense that now that there's this kind of swing back towards gameplay and open world games and everything like that, people are afraid that their cinematic games are going to be taken away from them. And that's not a completely illegitimate fear, but for the most part is just general overreacting.
For the Dark Souls thing, it's a unique situation because you have cinematics and if you have narrative, but if you choose to go further with the story that's provided by all the items and lore of the game, you end up being a little bit more enriched. But at the same time, you don't need to.
No, but we all know that person that's advocating it. We all know that person that says Dark Souls should have like I didn't even understand the story. They should make the story more clear.
I mean the thing is that that does take away the thing of it, but I also don't think that it will in the end it would destroy it either. I think if there was another type of games that did take that sort of, I mean, you could say Neo is that sort of idea where there is a general narrative of a pure narrative that can easily be seen, but it hasn't affected any of the people that actually played the game.
I think Bloodborne has a pretty clear narrative. I think that was a good compromise. Everybody knows the basics of what happened in Bloodborne.
I played Bloodborne 3 times. I don't know what the fuck happened in it, and I don't care. See, for that game, the incentive for me wasn't the cinemas or story, because as I know there's a story, but as far as I could see, there was no story in it. I was like, okay, this is Castlevania. My incentive is to kill shit. So in that game, that kind of stuff really did. Actually, in that game, I would say the cinematics kind of hamper. I'm like, can I go back to killing shit now? Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm not immersed in anything. I just want to kill shit. I want to see the next cool monster around the bend. That was my incentive for that game, And I really don't care. I don't care what the story is. I like kind of not knowing. That kind of brings a mystique to the game too,
But also, at the same time, it's like, okay, like that's one thing that you can do in video games where essentially you can have a narrative, but just like in real life, you don't know everything that's happening around you. You're a lot of times, especially if you're you're in a new place, right? You don't know all the lore of the place. You don't know how long the town has been around. You don't know that, the guy down the corner lived there for 20 years and he murdered a bunch of people. You don't know any of that sort of stuff. But that's the thing. It's like you could choose to delve deeper into the lore of that town. Or you could just be like, all right, you know what? I'm here to fucking cure myself from this goddamn disease that I got. And I hear this blood shit that they got in this town is cool. I'm going to kill as much shit so I can get this thing. There you go.
It's funny. All right, man. We got one more question here from Mr. Silver Sky 545. So this, I guess this is kind of related to the last question. He goes, do you guys pay attention to details in games, be it story layers, meanings, graphical details, gameplay details, etc.? Very interesting question.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It depends. You know what I mean? Like some games, like some games I choose to go more. Like again with Bloodborne, I didn't care about the story. I didn't go deeper into it. I just wanted to see the cool monsters. But with something like like God of War, I will pay attention to every little thing, in there, stuff like that. I'm trying to Assassin's Creed again. I pay attention to every little thing in there, But some games like Mega Man, like I just want to shoot shit, It depends on the game.
I actually intentionally have to put on blinders for games like Assassin's Creed. Like if you pay too much attention, it actually breaks the immersion because you start seeing clones of other characters and things like that. But I'm the guy that overthinks stuff. So like if you have a character where if I shoot them in the leg they start to limp a little bit, like I notice that shit and I appreciate that shit. So I will drill down to the point where I start noticing and criticizing stuff that I'm like, all right, now I'm just being fucking nitpicky. But so yeah, I love that shit. But on the other hand, I hate bullshit platinum seeking trophies where you have to find 100 fucking song pages spread throughout the goddamn map for no reason. They add nothing to the story. They're just busy work. So if you're talking about stuff that actually expands upon the flavor or the lore, or noticing little things in graphics, like little Easter eggs or little armor pieces that break off, yeah, I eat that shit up and I look for it. But if we're talking like expanded content, no, not really.
Just to add another layer to it, when it comes to graphics, I used to pay a lot of attention to them back in the day, but let's just be honest. Going back to what we said before, last generation, this generation, graphics are good, pretty good all around. If you find a bad-looking game, that's the exception. Before, it used to be a good-looking game was the exception. Now, a bad-looking game, so every game looks good generally.
Cool thing.
Yeah,
you notice cool things like if light reflects off a surface in a really cool way as you walk by, you'll be like, "Oh man, that's cool!" Like I turned orange as I walk through there, and like all the character models that come through there have really cool lighting on them. Like that's really cool. Like we all notice that shit.
Of course, yeah. I'm gonna bring up one of Adams's favorite games, Division. Right, whenever like the sun would hit the snow, that shit was crazy. You know.
Or if a blizzard would show up and then you could barely see. It's like, all right.
Yeah, man, that shit was wild. Yeah, I noticed that sort of stuff for sure, but it's not like I'm seeking it. It's like whatever happens to pop out at the same time. But, but to be fair, and I think Manny may have said this in the last show, sometimes I will miss shit because I'm kind of just focused on whatever my task is, so sometimes I do miss some stuff too. But it could be like something like I'm paying too much attention to that sunrise. I'm like, hey, you forgot that little health pack over there, bro. Shit like that. It's a very interesting question. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, even with Monster Hunter, like as when we were playing the beta, like there were several times where I dove behind a rock, thinking like, "Aha, level design, gotcha!" And then something would just plow through the rocks, sending rocks flying. And not only would I get hit with a giant monster attack, but I get hit with rocks as well. And I actually had to take a moment where I was like, "Well played, developers. You got me. You got me fucking good. I thought I'd just dodge behind this stone pillar and the thing would knock itself out, but no, fuck me. Like it's a cool mechanic. It's a cool mechanic that the monsters limp. Like I think one of the reasons I'm really excited about this beta is there's neat mechanics. You break off a monster's horn, the monster's horn breaks off. You cut off its tail, it can't do a tail attack anymore. You wound it enough, it starts limping. Like it's got all kinds of cool little things in it, like cool attention to details.
Yeah,
and I think I noticed that. I'm pretty sure you noticed that. We were talking about it.
By the way, people, just get used to this. We're going to be talking about Monster Hunter a lot in the next couple of weeks. What sold me about the game was I never liked the old Monster Hunters, and one of the things I always hated was like, you're fighting a monster. There's other monsters around you, right? And nothing really happens, right? When I didn't play them. I saw the demo at E3, right? Basically, we were chasing like the T-Rex looking thing, right? And he started limping and shit, so he goes back to his nest. Thing is, there was a Rathalos there, right? Now, if this was old Monster Hunter, nothing would happen. Rathalos was like, bitch, you come to my house? He started fucking up the engine. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to back up and let the monsters fight, It was awesome. I don't know if that's a little detail, but that's a detail I liked. I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't, if the monsters are territorial, one monster wouldn't like another monster coming into his fucking territory.
Or the fact that other first monster eats other monsters.
Yeah, and then remember when we were playing it, when we fucked up the Anjanath, you saw the littler monsters show up because they're like, he's about to die, I'm going to eat this motherfucker. That's little details I like, And they all started gorging on him as soon as we killed him, Real life shit, man. Oh, Manny left. Anyway, what about you guys? Details. I guess you could take this wherever you want. The question seems kind of open-ended. Hey, Manny's back.
Sorry.
Yeah. What other details in games do you notice? I guess that's a more direct way of answering this question.
More details?
What kind of details in games, in whatever category he named, pop out to you when you play a game?
Water. Always water's always
that fish AI, man.
Yo,
yeah.
Remember?
Just the surface, or like reflections in water, rippling water when you walk through that water. The in Bloodborne, which I really enjoyed, was like the cobblestone of the cobblestone streets, where they had that kind of uneven surface that looks like someone would stick up and someone would lower. That sort of stuff I always look at.
Remember back in the day when you would judge a game's graphics on its water? Like if it had good like water in it, the game was good looking overall.
Yeah. Water still is a really difficult substance to do in games. Like one of the games that I always remember, like the best example of water was in Eco, where like you had that one section with the windmill. So that section, like literally, you jump in the water and you'd see all the water rippling around, and it even had a reflection, so the reflections would also react to what the surface water was doing. And I thought that was like, oh man, that's so awesome.
Yeah, I also remember, and this started last generation, where I started noticing like subtlety in characters, like faces and stuff. Like they would do little micro expressions. I'm like, oh wow, I've never seen that before. You know what I mean? Like subtle little things. Like basically, they don't need to tell you how they feel. You can just see it on their faces. That was really cool. Because before it was like, I'm mad now. Actually, it's like, I'm mad now. These have this thing.
Look. They're like it just be all in the voice acting. I'm incredibly so mad I can't even say it.
Yeah, but now you just have a little fro of the brow. Like, oh, that motherfucker's pissed. I like that stuff. Brian, getting here, man. What kind of details in games do you notice?
To me, it's all about being how like the model gets like textured. It's like when you're in snow, like you get snow on you. If you're in dirt, you get dirt on you. That type of stuff. Like I love that type of stuff. Like
that is cool. Yeah, I agree.
Whatever, and then just like, okay, cool. Now I'm dirty. Oh, now I'm snowy. I think the one game that impressed me a lot, and you guys are going to take shock in this, was Uncharted, where it's like, yeah, like how deep you went in water, like actually like mattered like quite a lot. So like if you went like waist high in water, then like from like waist down, then you're wet. It's like, it's a small thing, but it makes sense. And it's like, yeah, it makes sense. Like you're waist deep in water, so hence your trousers are all wet. And then the fact that the color changes and all sorts was really good. I love that stuff.
Yeah, the original Uncharted started doing that stuff.
Yeah, remember that blew us all away. I'm like, oh shit, his pants are wet. That was crazy.
And it was at the actual height of the water. Where, in other words, it wasn't just like, oh, it was at some random point. You could literally walk in half of the water and half of your body would look wet.
Yeah, or even 1 foot in the water, that foot will get wet. I like that shit. Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up. That blew me the fuck. I'm like, oh shit, he's wet, but it's only a part of it.
Even then, remember when they first started adding like glossing texture to your character model when you got wet? Like back in the day, you just dripped for a second. Like,
right.
After a while, you're like, whoa, like his clothes actually look wet. And then like after a while, like, wow, like tech slowly fades away.
Hey Brian, check this out. Dio said that you would like the new Monster Hunter because they took cues from Dragon's Dogma. I'm guessing he's talking about jumping on enemies and shit like that.
Oh no, it has a definite Dragon's Dogma feel to it.
Oh yeah, it's definitely cool. I played like the demo when it came out. That was really good.
Nice.
I think I can't remember what it's called again. Like, was like the feather blade or the wing blade?
The insect glaive.
That's the one. I played that guy because like he can just like flip and like do like two jumps. I'm like fuck yes.
Brian knows
I love doing that. Oh yeah. I'm actually going to play. Like, if I buy the game, then I'm just be that class like the whole time because to me that's the only class that matters. Class.
Everyone on this show is going to buy this game, but Adam, I think it's going to be that game. It's going to be that game for Throwdown, man. Adam, what about you? What kinds of details do you notice in games? Which pop out to you most?
The environment, scenery like Grand Theft Auto and Division. Just for me, that immersed me in the world. That the world seems alive, and that's what pisses me off, I guess, with the Need for Speed. This one, it feels dead. It feels like a dead world. It's like everything is just through cell phone use. You don't see anybody around. You don't see other cars really interacting with other things. It's like it just feels dead. So for me, it's the world. And I like that immersion with the world.
The thing is, I can't say Need for Speed felt dead because I've played Drive Club. You want to talk about a dead fucking?
Yeah. Well, that's different because that was more like just racing out in nowhere land. So it's like, okay, that makes sense. But we're supposed to be in a city. Yeah, I mean, there should be at least something like people walking around on sidewalks.
Yeah,
or
that's
some
true.
shit.
There's the people at. It's a world. Actually, like Burnout. Remember, it was just a world dominated by cars.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah, that was a world dominated by cars. And they said it was like a special world. They said you were in a special town, special place that did all this. But this is supposed to be like a regular place. Like you see, they had cars and stuff like a street race. Remember, all get together with street
Yeah,
races.
yeah.
Then I want to see people.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. Chris.
I'd say the first thing is graphics, right? How the characters look, textures, cars, buildings. Then the second thing I noticed is AI. Like how smart are the enemies? Like if they start flanking you and doing these weird shit, I was like, God damn, they're so smart, son of a bitch. Uh, I think also the things I look for is like destructible environments. I see like what can break. I was always impressed when I saw that early on in games. Like a wall would break. I remember, I think it was Resident Evil 2, and Mr. X punched a hole in the wall. I would know that motherfucker punched a hole in the wall. You're not supposed to be able to do that shit.
They did
so
it in
that,
Resident Evil 7 too.
Yeah, that's right. Scared the fuck
yeah,
out
my
of me.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Jack comes to the wall. I'm like, you son of a bitch. He beats the shit out of you. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff I notice. And I'm always like impressed when I see that. I'm like, God damn it. I wasn't expecting that shit.
All right, Carlos. What about you, man?
This is a like a weird one too. Maybe a lot of people do this, but and don't and it's gonna sound weird, but
Bad
like,
voice acting in Japanese games.
that's definitely one of them. But it wasn't. I don't think it was one of the categories in the question. But let's say it's a first-person shooter, right? And there's like a small crevice somewhere. It's like a window or something, like a small crevice, and you try to shoot through it. I'm like, yo, that's how you know if these guys paid attention. If you can't shoot through it, like if you shoot an enemy or someone on the other side and you can't hit them with a gun, you're like, God damn it, this game didn't put that extra effort. But there's some games where it's like a super small crevice and you're like, okay, I'm gonna shoot through that crevice and hit a target behind, and if it hits it, I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. They actually
Rainbow Six Siege.
really.
Yeah, you can shoot through walls, and you can make a hole in the wall just for yourself, and then just like poke the gun through it.
Yeah, because there's sometimes like there's some games where you get a spot and it's like a small hole, but it's like, oh, okay, I can hide here and then shoot all the enemies from here, but you can't shoot. It's like you can't hit them.
No, they're not designed for shooting. But games like Rainbow Six and Call of Duty, same thing. I'll see like a little hole within a wall. I'm like, can I shoot from there? Sure enough, you can do it. They put it there for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's If voice acting counts, especially for the Japanese games that have English translations, I'm like, ugh, some of these games.
Yeah, it could be any detail, so that actually qualifies. Also, talking about first-person shooters, I like when you could see their arms and legs. I appreciate that. Like, you look down, you see your legs. I'm like, that's cool, because in most games, you're just a floating gun. That's annoying. And I also do like that, too, where it's like, you see, like, bars or something. It's like, can I shoot between these motherfuckers? Brr, oh, shit. I like that. That gets your dick hard, You fucking snipe.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
Come on, son. But yeah, I do like that. I was like, can I see, like, like Battlefield always is like, you see your legs and shit. That's cool, Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us. No post-show shit. I think we're gonna have some announcements on Thursday though, so stick around for that. So yeah, that's it. So thank you for watching and listening. Leave us your questions in the comment section of this episode here on YouTube or on the Coalition, and we'll answer them on next week's show. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, Mixer, Twitter, and Facebook at Throwdown Show. Links are located in the description below. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco. Tonight, joined by Emilio Lopez.
I'll see you later, guys.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Carlos.
He's there. Goodbye.
Oh, later, guys. I was on mute.
Brett Murdoch.
See you, everybody.
Adam Vale.
Later, people. And if you like wrestling, check out Friday Night WrestleCast.
Yo.
We're getting ready for the Royal Rumble.
And Brian
and if you
Manjo-
don't like
yeah,
wrestling,
yeah. If you don't like wrestling, what?
Throwdown plays on Friday, man.
You know,
There you go.
we stealing all them views, man.
Shit.
And
Damn.
Brian Manjoma.
I'm starting to think that Need for Speed Payback has an anti-EA message to it, because some of the tones that they're hitting here, like, they kind of resonate really well with the EA. Weird.
Interesting. All right, man. We'll see you on Thursday. Later.
Later, guys.
Peace.
Deuces.